Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest Game Rivals podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and as always, together with me is the lovely, the unstoppable, the insatiable PlayStation aficionado, Sean Templar. How's it going, Sean?
I'm good. I'm happy that every episode you find new ways to add some things to introduce me. So thank you for that. Unstoppable is a new one.
Well, you can't be beat, man. You can't be beat.
Oh, I don't know.
How have you been? Everything okay?
Yeah. I mean, I'm good. Just trying to keep busy. From a gaming point of view, I have maybe like a gaming dip, so I don't feel like there's so much to play, but I just don't have the motivation to play it because I'm like, you know what, I might as well play something else. Or I just fire it up and then within 2 minutes I'm like, meh, I'm not feeling this, and I just go watch some YouTube or Netflix or something. But just trying to get through it. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm good. I took some time off from work, so, kind of catch my breath, stuff like that, recenter myself. So, that's cool. I have to go back to work soon.
Happy days.
Sometimes. But, it's been okay. I've got some time to actually play some games, some things that I'm going to be talking about in what we've been playing, so I don't want to spoil that. But outside of that, I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm super excited.
Because we have another special guest with us. The first one of 2021, which is really cool because, as the podcast has been growing, more people have been enjoying the podcast, been giving us feedback. And again, we totally appreciate it. Love you guys. Just keep spreading the word and giving us feedback. So without further ado, I'll have to introduce our new special guest, friend of the show, Super Nintendo. Say hi,
hey everybody, how you going? It's good to be here. It's so exciting, to actually be able to hear your introduction live, because that's the one thing I look forward to every week. It's just to hear you introduce the show and what you're going to say about Sean. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here.
We're excited to have you on, so thank you for joining us.
No worries. It's great to be here and get to chat with you guys about my favorite thing, Nintendo and gaming. So yes, thank you for having me on.
Yay, for once I have someone in my corner.
Oh, yay. Now they're going to gang up on me.
Oh, yeah. 2-1 finally.
So, would you like to introduce yourself a bit to the listeners? Where you're from and what it is you love in gaming?
Sure. Well, my name's Dan. I'm from Australia, and I've been a gamer for quite a long time. I started my gaming back in the Nintendo NES days, so right back in those retro times. I remember carrying my Game Boy around in the back of the car when we were going traveling to different places when I was growing up. So I'm a huge Nintendo fan, basically, fanboy. Just anything I see, I just love about Nintendo. I don't know, it just grabs my heart, I suppose. Like everything that I play or the products that they bring out, it's just been amazing. So that kind of led me to starting an Instagram page about everything that I love. All a few years ago, just started posting what I was playing, what I was doing, and then I just started meeting this brilliant community, and everybody who I've been in touch with and contact is just, fabulous and really supportive. So just seeing my community grow has been fantastic as well. Almost hit 10K. And fingers crossed that'll be soon. So, and through that I was able to meet you guys as well. So it's just been a great journey of gaming, and obviously right now I'm big into the Nintendo Switch. So if you jump on to my Instagram, that's pretty much what you'll see me talking about all the time. I love keeping up with the latest news, and yeah, pretty big Nintendo guy.
Nice.
Awesome introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Nintendo product or object or console or anything?
Oh,
I know it's a difficult question.
it's a
but,
tough question, I tell you. Look, I think the Switch has officially become my favorite Nintendo console, and I know that's a bit of a cop out, but I think everything that it does, like right now, is everything that I've always wanted in a console. In terms of favorite thing, like I'm just a big like collector of all things Nintendo. So, but my biggest collection and my dirty little secret is Amiibo. I have way too many Amiibo, so but I love every single one of them. So,
do you have all the Smash Amiibos up until this point that have been released?
Yeah, I do.
Ooh, nice.
Every Smash Amiibo, all the current ones pre-ordered. So, yeah, pretty much every Amiibo that's come out. There's a few elusive ones like the Gold Mega Man and a few Monster Hunter ones that were released only in Japan that I haven't got my hands on yet. But other than that, yeah, got a pretty decent Amiibo collection.
Nice.
Yeah,
I have a few Amiibo, but it's just way too much. It was way too much for me to keep up.
It's
I
a
just got the ones
dark
that I
hole.
really
Yes, he just begins sliding.
That's the funny thing about collecting. I was never the collector type, but I recently started collecting Funko Pops, and I've only got like I got the V one from the V male one from Cyberpunk and the Ellie from The Last of Us 2, and it's like a rabbit hole. The more you look at them, it's like, oh, but I want that one. Oh, and I would love to have that one and that one. I'm like, I don't have the space for it, and I don't know what to do with them all. And then I see some people that have hundreds of Funkos. I'm like, what do you do with them? Like, where do you store them? And like, how? And like, what? And I mean, like, I think you know him as well. Is Enrique from Instagram? He has like a huge collection, and he just like piled them all up against the wall. It's basically, I think he has like a gaming room, and at this rate, that gaming room will just like explode with Funkos. Like when you open the door, you'll just be have Funkos drop on you. It's so cool to see, but it's just like, yeah, I just go crazy when I see them. I'm like, oh, they have that one, and they do like games and movies and TV shows and pop culture. I'm like, holy crap, that is so much.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. I wasn't into the Funko Pops until they brought out the Pokemon ones. And now every Pokemon one is like, oh, just stop.
Those are so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really big into the Funko Pops, but those Pokemon ones almost got me over the edge. Especially the Bulbasaur one. It's just so adorable.
He's so adorable. I have one that's like soft. I forget what they're called, but they're like felt. They feel like felt, and it's just gorgeous. Yes.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah, it's the thing. Yeah, they got like special edition ones that are like felt. They feel like felt. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. We have to stop talking because I'm just gonna go on the internet and buy them all. I'm like, oh no, man, my wallet's already crying. So like, oh man,
I love it.
Nice.
All right, so with that done, let's just jump straight into the news because, despite the fact that it's the beginning of the year, there's a lot of news that just came out this week, and it's crazy and it's ridiculous. Let's just start with the big one. Long live Lucasfilm Games, apparently, because it's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, after being gone from, I think, since the merger with Disney.
Yeah, I think they had like a couple of games, and then they were doing Star Wars 1313, which looked like this amazing Uncharted smuggler kind of game. And then they just fired everybody or made everybody redundant, and then just said, okay, we're just going to license it out. And then the license went to EA, and they had like a 10-year agreement. 10-year. And then out of the blue, they said like, yeah, but now we're going to have this overarching brand and we're going to have multiple games. And then out of the blue yesterday, they said we are doing an open world Star Wars game with Ubisoft and Massive. I'm like, wow, the whole community just went crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys feel about that particular announcement. Lucasfilm Games coming back again is a really big deal, of course, because now that means that it's free. It's open season for any developer worth their salt to pitch an idea to Lucasfilm Games and see if it sticks, and they get the license to do a Star Wars game, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily also have to be Star Wars now that I think about it, because they didn't just do Star Wars games.
No, another interesting one is Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
By Bethesda.
Yeah.
Which brings up way more questions now than it would have like a year ago.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
my
true.
first reaction was like, "Oh crap, is this going to be an Xbox exclusive game now?" I mean,
Good point.
yeah, I'm like,
I didn't even think that way, but yeah, of course.
I was like, "Oh crap!" It was like my first instinct was like, "Oh, this is so cool." I'm like, "Oh crap, this might be an Xbox exclusive." Like, oh crap, you know, and that's the day after everybody started talking about that.
Yeah.
We don't even know what kind of game it's going to be,
No.
unless they said it and I missed it. But yeah, it's crazy that that's a thing, right? Because now because for 10 years we had to rely on EA to bring out games, and it's been hit and miss. And I think the thing that broke the camel's back, the straw that broke the camel's back, is Battlefront 2, right?
Yep.
The whole thing with the microtransaction stuff. Because Fallen Order, people love Fallen Order.
It's a great game.
I've heard very, very little when it comes to negativity to that game. And so it's kind of a bit bittersweet that this had to happen, but at the same time, I think it was expected that they would not rely on one developer, because that's a lot of pressure to put on one developer. Now you can have this overarching quality control kind of thing where you're just overseeing the quality of the games, and they're being developed by other studios. So that means you could probably have way more games out in 1 year, which is what I'm assuming that they're aiming for, than having maybe 1 or 2 games every 2 to 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. No, it's totally great. It will be interesting Bethesda's take on that as well, on an Indiana Jones game. Like, just knowing what Bethesda does. It's kind of a bit more wider these days with, Doom and all that kind of stuff. But when you think back to like what they were really like known for, Fallout and all those kind of games, it'll be interesting to see where they take the franchise. And I think it's kind of exciting because, like as you said, leaving it in one developer's hands kind of gets a bit stale, and EA kind of has this kind of stigma about them, kind of being a greedy company. Shocking, I know. And they don't support the Switch, so pretty much they're out. But it'll be interesting to see like what other companies have ideas for, and Ubisoft like doing Star Wars and open world will be really interesting too, because Ubisoft are kind of the kings of open world games. So yeah, I think it'll be exciting to see hopefully some fresh takes on some very famous series. Yeah.
I just did realize that, and I mean, like Disney is this company that at the end, they care about fans, but they care about money at the very, very end, at the bottom line. And I'm like, I can't imagine them saying like, "Hey, you're free to use the Indiana Jones license, but you're not allowed to do an exclusive game because your platform is simply not big enough to kind of like validate for us that license is being utilized to the fullest." So like you can do one, but you also have to bring it out on other platforms besides Xbox, because your install base simply isn't big enough to justify that exclusivity. Just something that popped into my mind. Like,
that's true.
If we're looking at the trend right now, is that I think the numbers aren't out officially, but what is being predicted is that a PlayStation 5 is selling 2 to 1. So for every Xbox Series X, they sell 2 PS5s. So that means that install base will exponentially grow, even though people have the benefit of Game Pass and all those amazing value, is simply because there's 100 and X something amount of PS4s out there. Everybody's going to the console that their friend has. If that is a PS4 or a then they'll naturally go to a PS5. So, I mean, they have the numbers on their side. So I can't imagine Disney saying like, "Hey, it's super cool that you want to do this, and here's the license, and take your shot at it." but we want to see it on more platforms because it needs to bring in an X amount of money for us to be able to justify giving you this license. And if you can't do it, then we don't want to. So, I mean, we don't know the specifics about the deal, but that's something that might, play in the background. And they haven't announced any platforms yet. They've only said like Machine Games is doing it. Machine Games have done the Wolfenstein games, which are really good games. I mean, I love those games. So it's really curious to see, like, maybe we'll hear more around E3, or if that's ever going to happen, or if that's going to be a thing, E3.
Exactly.
But like,
as you were saying that, there was a thought that popped into my mind, right? So if that's because you have to realize that the talks with Bethesda buying them, like with ZeniMax buying them, that was probably something that's been in the works for probably a year or so, maybe more.
Probably.
The talks to getting the license for Indiana Jones probably also took at least a couple of months, if not a year. So my question is, did they enter this agreement before they knew what was happening to Bethesda? Because if that's the case, then this is probably one of those... remember when they bought... what are the guys again? Obsidian.
Yeah.
So when they bought Obsidian, or at least when it was known that Obsidian was being bought by Microsoft, Obsidian had already announced that the Outer Worlds was coming to Switch. And it did eventually come out to Switch.
Did it? Did it?
But they did do that. And I've seen examples for this in the past where, for example... Nintendo bought Monolith Soft, and they were owned majority by Namco Bandai back in the day. So when they bought it over, all the games that they were working on, they finished, and then they completely, became a Nintendo only developer. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. To see something like that happen. So I'm assuming that whatever it is that they're working on was originally intended to be multi-platform. So I don't think that would be a worry. Plus, to be fair, Microsoft owns Windows. Windows is the PC platform. A lot of people play on PC. So even if they say it's coming to PC and it's an Xbox timed exclusive, I don't think that's too much. That's not a big risk for Disney and for Lucas Film. Wow, I really wish they just called it LucasArts again. It's not a big risk for them to take. At least then that's how I see it. Because if you're taking along like the millions of PC players and then the small incentive of console players, even if it is just a timed thing, I don't think that's too much of an issue. Plus, they're also having the Ubisoft game, which is obviously going to be multi-platform because it's Ubisoft. It'll run up. If they somehow find a way to run games on a potato, Ubisoft will put it on the potato.
Oh, and they'll probably have the Assassin's Creed towers in there as well, that you have to climb a tower to unlock the rest of the map. I mean, it's Ubisoft.
You have to.
Yeah, it's not a Ubisoft game without that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm really curious to see where this will go. I mean, I can imagine Bethesda also leveraging the Microsoft buy in those negotiations by saying like, "Hey, we're an independent company now, but we are in talks with Microsoft to get to be acquired. So we have this big powerhouse behind us who has a huge bag of money that will go into this game, so we can assure a certain amount of quality because we have ample resources to do it." So. I'm really curious to see, and I think Disney isn't done yet announcing new games because EA is still going to do Star Wars games. They're doing Jedi Fallen Order 2. It's just more that Disney is just kind of like spreading out their IP instead of saying like, we'll just give it to one company. Because if you're honest, EA hasn't been able to do a lot with the Star Wars license besides 2 Battlefront games, a Fallen Order games, a couple of mobile games, and a a lot of canceled Star Wars games, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like with Disney closing down their own like gaming studio, they still got to be able to get out their IP in games somehow. So I think this is a stepping stone for that for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Disney is weird when it comes to games, man.
So weird.
I mean, they started Junction, like if you remember back in the Wii days, they started Junction Point so that they can make Epic Mickey.
Yeah.
And they used that to leverage to get Oswald the Lucky Rabbit back into their cast from Universal, because Universal essentially stole Oswald the Lucky Rabbit from Walt Disney back in the day.
That's right.
And they made 2 games. Well, actually, no. They made 3 games because they also had an Epic Mickey. Not
3DS was
Point.
it?
I don't think it was by Junction Point.
No, I don't think so.
But it was related to Epic Mickey, and they brought that out, and then it didn't do as well as they would hoped it would. And then they shuttered Junction Point, and then they shuttered Disney Interactive, and then it's weird. It's really weird.
It is really
also,
weird.
Epic Mickey is not the reason why Junction Point is the reason why why it shuttered because of Epic Mickey, but Disney Interactive was shuttered because Disney Infinity was oversaturated in that landscape.
Wow.
It's really disappointing because this Disney Infinity 2.0 was arguably better than the first version. People really loved it, and then they just were like, you know what? Yeah, the trend's over.
Yeah,
It was the same with Activision. Like they had those Skylanders.
Skylanders. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
like that.
It was.
I'm
It's
glad you
around
said that.
year.
Because I was thinking Skyrim in my head, and I was like, it's not Skyrim. That would be really embarrassing. They literally brought Skyrim to everything.
Bethesda has brought Skyrim to everything.
Exactly.
Like that potato. Yeah, but I think it was that the trend at the time, like people playing with all sorts of peripherals, like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and Skylanders and Disney Infinite, and then eventually people were like, yeah, no, we just don't care. We just want either console, PC, or mobile gaming, and now mobile gaming has taken over a lot. So it's a funny trend because I mean I never would have expected something to like Rockstar or Rock Band to go away, Rockstar Guitar Hero, because they churned out game after game after game, and people kept on buying them. Like, well, there's no end to this at this rate.
And all that plastic we collected, it was great. So many plastic guitars.
Never got into it, but I did buy DJ Hero when that was going away because they packaged that one with the original DJ Hero and DJ Hero 2.
Oh, nice.
For
Nice.
Wii. So I have the Wii version of that just upstairs. I was like, I kind of miss playing DJ Hero, so maybe I should hook up the Wii U and play it. And then I'm like, now that means I have to get batteries for my Wii, for my remote, put them in, and then set that up. And I don't really feel like setting up the Wii U, even though it's already set up at my workstation in my office.
Oh, wow.
And it's
the burden. Oh, I can see it weighing you
so
down
hard.
so badly. Oh, man. You might as well move 10 rocks while you're at it because it's so hard to get batteries these days.
I know, right?
Let's be honest, you just don't want to be a DJ. Let's get the truth out there.
Yeah.
That life is not for me.
DJ Maxi Max here. Dropping you some real dope tunes or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a DJ. Oh, man.
That's great.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. We got derailed from that. Basically, yeah. Hopefully they don't shutter. My point is this: hopefully they don't shutter Lucasfilm Games again, and they are way better at managing like their IPs. And I hope that it's not just Star Wars stuff that they're gonna do. I mean, we're already seeing that it's not just Star Wars stuff that they're gonna do. They're gonna do Indiana Jones stuff. But I'm hoping that they'll also do, like classic Disney stuff as well.
That'd be great.
Because I would love to see a new Epic Mickey, or at least them issuing out some company doing a remake of either game or both games and bring it out as a collection or something. because they were fun games. It's just a shame that not a lot of people got the chance to play them.
Especially the second one. I think that kind of just fell into the wayside. I know I played the first one, but I still haven't played the second one.
Neither have I. I have the first one. I never finished it. So I got to the backlog. And I never picked up the second one because I didn't finish the first one.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I hope they would do like a Pirates of the Caribbean game, because I know that before they closed down their studios, they were working on I think it was an open world Pirates of the Caribbean game, and you would be your own character, but you would run into characters from the movies. And it just feels like they might as well have given the Pirates of the Caribbean license to Ubisoft when they were doing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I mean, that would have been the perfect game. Or say like, hey, Ubisoft, you know how to do open world games. Here, make a Pirates of the Caribbean RPG, kind of like an Assassin's Creed in a way. I think that would be really, really cool because it's unique. It's not a game that we're seeing a lot right now. And Assassin's Creed Black Flag was one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. I just loved, sailing on the oceans, having your crew sing, raiding, plundering, that pirate life. It's just so nice. It's completely different than the Viking life.
I was going to say the same thing, and then I remembered there's technically supposed to be working on Skull and Crossbones still.
Yeah, Skull and Bones is in development, but they pushed it, I think 3 times, and now it's... we don't know what's happening, but I think the last time they pushed it was 2 years ago. So yeah, that'll probably become a PS5, Xbox Series X game if it ever sees the light of day, but you never know.
We've heard nothing since for 2 years. I'm really worried about that game. I honestly
it's the same with Beyond Good and Evil too. I mean, we haven't heard a lot about that game for as well. And it's also been 2 or 3 years.
But that one is. I don't know if that's ever going to come out.
Michel Ancel is gone at UB, but I can't imagine that they still want to do that game because the fans want that game.
The fans want the game, but I don't know I think if they're going to do it, they're going to wait for a while. Because considering that Michel Ancel's brand is a little bit toxic at the moment, I think they're going to let that pass before they move on in either greater ways or just drop it all together. Because I don't know how far they got. Because
they showed a gameplay demo.
Simulated gameplay, but not actual gameplay as far as I can tell.
But they released they said it was a gameplay demo that they released, like the last thing they did, but based on how amazing that looked, that could never have run on a PS4 or Xbox One. If they said it did and they brought it out, that would have been a Cyberpunk 2077 PS4 version. So people know. I think it's plausible to run on a PS5 and a Series X.
It'll be interesting because again, so much time goes past and you just wonder what's happening in the background. So I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes just even with the whole Cyberpunk thing, obviously they keep saying, "Oh, we thought it was up to scratch. We thought it was up to scratch." But what was actually going on in the background? That's the thing that always gets me. Is how did anybody think that was up to scratch? Anyway, I'm diverging again.
Yeah. Oh no, that's good because we're going to talk about Cyberpunk in a bit. So
perfect. I just stress for these games that keep getting delayed and change people. I don't know. It's just sometimes Miyamoto always says delays are good for games, but then. We're starting to see a little bit as the generations are going on, we're starting to see it's not necessarily. I think there's a lot of crunch and a lot of effort that needs to be put into making games today, and we haven't taken that into account. We still expect games to be coming out pretty quickly. I heard,
It almost feels like that they're announcing a game too early, and they know it's too early, but it's simply because they want to stay relevant. Because the next thing we're going to touch upon is that, for example, Hogwarts Legacy yesterday got delayed to 2022. Yeah. And we saw that game at the PS5 showcase. It looked amazing. And then we saw allegedly a gameplay trailer. But after that, we didn't hear or see anything about the game for months. And it's supposed to come out this year. And then yesterday, suddenly on Twitter, they said, we're going to push it to 2022 because we want it to be the best possible game we can. And then I almost feel like they announced it because, one, there were rumors for years that they were working on an open world RPG. And secondly, they're like, yeah, but as a Warner Brothers brand, we haven't announced a lot of games besides Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights. We need to stay relevant in this market. We need to, at the beginning of a new generation, we want people to kind of have their eyes on us. So let's just say that we're working on this game, and then they just push it. Same goes for Pragmata, the game Capcom announced with the strange astronaut in New York.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Like that game is coming out in 2023. So like, why did they announce a game in 2021? Like, wow. Yeah. So like, it's more like we need to stay relevant, so we want people to know we're working on some stuff. But it's gonna come out in 2 years.
That's
it's
weird.
That's weird. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why, with a few exceptions, I really love that Nintendo does not do that, again, with a very few exceptions.
Metroid Prime 4, Breath of the Wild 2,
3.
with Metroid Prime 4, that one just rebooted, so that was not
true.
really. But then again, you have stuff like, and I don't know how much this lies with Nintendo, but Bayonetta 3 being announced, and we still haven't seen hide nor hair of that.
But it's going really well, apparently.
Yeah. According to Hideki-san.
Yes.
If the man says so, I gotta believe.
You do.
I mean, they put out Astral Chain, and I'll be talking about that and what we've been playing. But it's a solid game. So
nice.
It's not like they don't know what they're doing. It's just we're curious about what they're doing.
Exactly. We want to know.
Yeah. I still feel that I get relevancy talk and stuff like that, but announce stuff when you're almost absolutely sure that there's nothing that's gonna go wrong. You know, like if you know that you're gonna have a game out in 6 months and you can pretty much, it's because the end's in sight, then you're good. If you're doing it at the beginning of if you're doing it past like the first internal alpha, and all you have is enough content for a sizzle reel, maybe not announce it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's another trend that started, like even with the last gen, like in the Xbox One and the PS4 time, like that announced games quite early out, and you wouldn't see games like Final Fantasy VII Remake just jumps to my head quite quickly. They kind of announced it a bit like Metro Prime 4. Here's Final Fantasy VII in 2020, and it was like three. I don't know what it was in the end, like 3 years, 4 years that we had to wait.
Something
I can't
like
remember.
That, 2016 something that they announced.
Yeah,
well,
that
one also had a project reboot.
Okay.
It was still Dan is right.
It's just the more I think back, like especially I feel Sony and Microsoft do it quite a bit. Like they hype you up with the trailer, and you're like, yeah, this game's going to come out. Like Fable, for example, for Xbox, I'm really looking forward to, but that looks nowhere near like it's going to release anytime soon. I think we got like an animation basically, and stuff like that. And, I just think, I do, in a way, it frustrates me that Nintendo doesn't announce things, but then it kind of, it's more exciting when they say, actually, it's coming out in 3 months' time. Like when they did with Paper Mario, the Origami King last year. That was really great. Like literally like, what? There's a Paper Mario game coming out in 3 months' time, and we know it's going to be there. So I don't know. Just one, like every time there's a delay, I know personally, it's like, it kind of hits you hard. And then there's another delay and kind of like, because Hogwarts was actually one of the ones from the PS5 showcase that I was really looking forward to like this year. And to hear that it was delayed today, it's a bit like, that was, one PlayStation 5 game that I was really looking forward to trying this year. So, yeah, sorry, PlayStation 5, gathering dust a bit longer. Some people will kill me for saying that. Some people will kill me because they want a PlayStation 5 so bad. So, I'm sorry about that.
Hang on. Let me see if I can...
I think the Zoom also unmuted in the excitement.
I don't know how that
Sorry.
happened, but
It's okay.
Don't worry about it.
But like I think
Yeah.
that you're right, because for example, Sony at the last showcase, they ended the show with God of War, and they said we have one more thing we want to show you, and then they showed God of War, and like it's totally fine to say we're gonna show you God of War so people know that we're working on it, but at the same time they said it's coming out in 2021, and I do not believe that game is coming out this year, because the only plausible way that game could have come out this year was if they did Horizon Forbidden West in like Q2 of this year, so like maybe March or April, and then they would save God of War for maybe the holiday season, that they had a game for that moment. But they're saying that Horizon Forbidden West is coming out in the second half of 2021, and I mean Gran Turismo 7 was supposed to come out the first half. They haven't said anything about that, so like if they don't do anything in the first half of this year besides maybe Ratchet and Clank, they're going to have 3 or 4 games that are going to come out in the holiday season. And I mean, Sony is big enough to be able to do that, and those games will sell, but at the same time those games might cannibalize each other, because they're all big IP. Like, okay, Gran Turismo has a specific audience, but I mean, Horizon Forbidden West and God of War 2, one is a Game of the Year contender again, and the other is a super good open world game. And if they bring it out at the same time, I'm afraid Horizon will be cannibalized by God of War, because God of War was like a Game of the Year at the time. So I think they're just going to push it to 2022. And it's like, hey, we want to give the game the proper attention and the polish you expect from us. They'll use those standard lines like blah, blah, blah. You expect this from us, and we want to be able to honor those expectations, yada, yada, yada. So we're going to make the decision to push it to 2022, and then they'll just maybe do it like April, like they did with the first one. But then we will all be hit again with like, no, but you said 2021. Why? Then if you announce the game, say like, we're working on it. And don't give me a date. Say like, we're just working on it, and then the hype will build on its own.
Let's see, like, stop giving us dates. Like, when there's a delay, just say we're working on it, and we'll give you a more concrete release date when we know there's going to be one, rather than being like every few months, we're just pushing it back a couple of months. Yeah. It hurts more, But you're right. Like I agree with you. I think Sony will push out their schedule. Like, I don't think they can have those two coming out at the same time. So, yeah, I reckon we'll definitely see Horizon in 22 now?
I mean, the funny thing is Horizon Zero Dawn came out in 2017, and God of War came out a year later. So you'd expect, like, hey, they've almost had 4 years of time to spend on the game. So I was expecting it to be a launch game, to be honest, for the PS5, because of the time that had passed. And from what we've understood, is transitioning from PS4 to PS5 is really easy, really fast. It doesn't take a lot of effort or resources to get ready for it. So you'd expect them to be like, you know what, we've put 3 years into this game. I mean, if Insomniac can do Miles Morales, which is basically like an expansion to Spider-Man, and do it for launch, and at the same time work on Ratchet and Clank, why can't Guerrilla do Horizon Forbidden West for launch?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
We could go to Amsterdam and ask them.
Oh, yeah. I think they're working from home. But
yeah.
Security guard will probably push us away, like, go away.
Speaking of games that should have been delayed, Cyberpunk.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It will become our
roadmap.
Yeah. So I woke up this morning to see that CD Projekt Red had put out a statement and also a video in which the CEO of CD Projekt Red had made a video in which he basically apologized and said, all blame is on me. Is not on the developers. They have worked their asses off to get this game out of the door, and it's purely me and leadership that have dropped the ball on this one. So please don't blame them, blame us. We are committed to making the game you all deserve and expected from us. and we just underestimated the sheer scope of bringing this game to other platforms because our focus was the PC, and that is still the best way to play this game. And we're just a bit sad to see that it had such a bad impact on you all if you buy the PS4 version or the Xbox One version. So we're committed. We made a few hot fixes. We're going to do 2 big patches, patch 1.1 and 2. They'll be coming out soon, and they will bring the current gen versions or the old gen versions to a playable state. They will keep on supporting the game with free DLC. They were going to do that closely after launch, but they've pushed it so they can work on Cyberpunk. And then the free upgrade for the next-gen versions will still be coming out later this year. In the second half of the year is the aim. And basically that. And I mean, like, it's good that they did it. They should have done it before because they're under immense scrutiny. I also saw that, like, the Polish version of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission you have in in America, is doing an investigation into CD Projekt Red because of some, I wouldn't call it malpractice, but the things that they did, that they kind of maybe didn't tell investors the whole thing, and that they went out and said, like, we sold 13 million copies of the game, and that's with refunds included. This game is a success. I'm like, yeah, it's not the best time to gloat when you're not in the best position. So maybe not have said that and said, like, hey, we appreciate your tremendous support. The game has sold incredibly well, and we are even more committed to making it the best game. Because I think personally, it might have lost Game of the Year because of this, because it will not have been, like, the experience will not have been great from the start. And, like, this might have cost them Game of the Year.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna appear on the game. I don't think it's gonna. How should I put this? I don't think it's gonna appear at the Game Awards for 2021.
It could, because it's still a good game. It's just that the whole story around it is just less.
Okay, so at least not for Game of the Year then. Maybe for
action RPG or something.
They don't have an action. They just have an RPG. Why don't they have that? Okay. Story. Maybe they'll get nominated for RPG, but actually, even with that, like, the reception on that end has been also all over the place. Some people enjoy it, and some people are like, "Yeah, my choices don't matter. This is not an RPG."
Yeah.
So
I've got so many, like, thoughts on this. It's like, sorry.
We want to hear them.
I'm gonna get angry. It's like, this is very hard for me, so I'm gonna try. I think the thing that annoys me with the whole situation and them trying to come out and, like, defend themselves is that they announced this game even before PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was even a thing. So this is like, and now they're telling us that they announced it for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but the game doesn't run well on those consoles at all. Like, so what were you doing for 8 years? Like, honestly, as much as, like, there's and I understand, like, the developer crunch and stuff, but this is 8 years we're talking about. Like, there was no next gen console. Like, it's a slap in the mouth for them to come out and say that, oh, well, don't play it on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X because that's where it runs better. Well, you're just lucky that they actually came out, because if they hadn't have come out this year, you would have been launching this game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and we would have been all getting the rubbish that was served up to us for those versions of the game regardless. Like, so they're just absolutely lucky that those two consoles happened to come out and it happens to run better on those consoles. Like, and then for them to come out and be like, oh, we're still going to make it the best game possible for those consoles. Well, I think there's still millions of players on PlayStation 4. There would have been, it's still a PlayStation 4 game. You go to the shop, you pick it off the PlayStation 4 shelf, and, like, people will be expecting it to run on their PlayStation 4, and the horrible state that it was given to us, like, it's really embarrassing for them. And the backpedaling that they did when it released was even more embarrassing. And now this guy comes out and says, blame it on me, blah, blah, blah. Well, totally blame it on you because because you would have been pushing for this game to be released, and your bad management has led to this. And also, if they had have known that it was running this bad on consoles, they should have just released it on PC and delayed it on consoles, or just delayed it again. It's just, I don't care about their roadmap now. I've seen it play on PS4 and PS5, and there is a clear difference. The PS4 is laughable. It's laughable. It's ridiculous. Like playing Grand Theft Auto 1 or Grand Theft Auto. Friggin' hell, it's horrible.
Down one?
Yeah, pretty much. It might as well have been. Your head was in the ground half the time because of the glitches. So, but yeah, their roadmap, and I think then to say the final thing we'll do for you this year because you're so awesome is we'll give you the next gen update. It's just I don't know. It all just smelled all very fishy for me. I think it's just, yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts anyway.
Oh, that's really good insights. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think I've said it as well. They should have done a PC release only and then say okay, you know what? We're just going to give you the PC version right now because that's the best version we have. And we're going to polish the console versions and then it will come out 6 months later. Because that way you still have your game out there. It's still good. People will get excited for it. So you won't have this immense backlash of people saying yeah, you stole my money. I mean, I don't know how much that collector's edition was, but I've seen a lot of them coming up on Instagram. It's really cool to see. If I bought the PC version through Steam, I'm I'm having a good experience. But if you bought a collector's edition worth maybe €300 or dollars, I can't imagine you feeling pretty screwed over because you're I synced a lot of money into this game and I can't even enjoy it to the fullest because I need to wait for some updates or a next gen upgrade. Where's my money,
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. They just need to. I don't know how they're ever going to smooth it over. I that's where I'm at, but maybe I'm just angry. But but I don't know. It just feels like this of all the games. I don't know. A lot of people were looking forward to it from the initial announcement.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like a bit of a slap in the face, and still is a little bit but we're going to do all this stuff to fix it now. So how hard are they going to have to work to fix it now? Anyway, it's just mind-blowing to me a little bit.
But it's kind of like BioWare. I mean, BioWare also had this legendary RPG status because they did 3 Mass Effect games, which are really good. They did Dragon Age, which was really good. And then people were really excited for Mass Effect Andromeda. And then that game tanked, unfortunately. And then people were really excited for Anthem because it was going to be their first IP. And looked really, really nice, and then that tanked as well. And kind of the main thing with both games was factors such as them being forced to use Frostbite, which is the Battlefield engine, which is for Battlefield amazing, and also kind of bad management, pushing them in different directions, no clear vision on where to go with the game. And now it feels like they have fallen from grace, and they are on this redemption path to bring out a new Mass Effect game which is set in the Shepard universe. They're going to do a new Dragon Age. And it feels like that they're actually going to nail it this time because they're just taking the time and they're hey, we're just super cautious and we don't want to create this huge expectation. We know you expect a lot from us. And I think for CD Projekt Red to kind of redeem themselves, they're first going to have to give us a couple of updates, then good updates in content. And then even after that, because they're still also going to do the Witcher 3 next-gen upgrade. I think that's going to either be delayed or they better scratch their heads and think twice before just dumping that because you never know what's going to happen with that. And then they'll probably have to announce a Witcher 4 and then say yeah, but this game's going to blow your minds. And if they do that, they might have redeemed themselves. But that's in 5 years from now.
Yeah. I was just thinking that about 5 years from now.
Yeah. Which is insane because they did
it is.
They built this huge reputation and then overnight it just vanished and went away.
Just like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Such a shame.
It is.
But onto some fun news, I think. you two want to talk about Super Mario and Super Mario World and Bowser, and I'll just shut up now and give you two the
Yeah,
stage.
we have some
So
Nintendo related stuff.
nerd out on Nintendo.
Oh, I'm
Um,
getting hot.
so what do you want to talk about, Dan? Like, what should we tackle first?
Should we? I reckon start with Super Nintendo World because that's kind of like the less exciting news, I think. But because I think the other one I'm a little bit more pumped about. But yeah, just before we jumped on to record, just saw that the opening of Super Nintendo World in Japan is going to be delayed. So a little bit disappointing after all the direct news, but kind of understandable in our current situation.
Yeah. Which is, and it's not just that; it's because they were doing already some test runs and they were having press over, and the press was really positive about it.
Yeah,
It
that's the
looks
thing.
really
Like,
cool.
it looks so
Yeah,
cool.
right.
Like you saw people on the rides, and people like taking videos of the Yoshi ride, and like it looks like the models that like it's models that they've designed are like really amazing. Like inside that Yoshi ride.
Did you, by the way, see how quickly Nintendo struck all those videos down? They kept being re-uploaded, and they kept being struck down by Nintendo.
Those ninjas are everywhere.
I kept sharing it with people, and it's like, oh, here, look, check it out, and it's like, there's nothing there. It's like, wait, what? And then I check it, and then it's privatized. It's like, oh,
dang! I know. I'm glad we got to actually see it before it got taken down, though, because I would have been extremely disappointed. Yeah,
I mean, it's a slow ride, but
yeah.
not everything has to be high octane, roller coaster ride, and it's really nice. It's constructed really well.
It kind of reminds me of the games, like like that. They on the outside they seem easy, but like it's a little bit more complicated than that. And like, so even though the ride's going slow, as you go through it, like those amazing, characters just come to life. Like that was amazing.
Yeah. And the seat that they're sitting in has some interactive elements in it, because I saw like buttons, like colored Yoshi egg buttons on it, and they didn't interact with it. So I don't know if they did it on purpose or they were too busy filming. So I think there's a little bit more to that ride than what we know at this point, outside of the fact that it looks really pretty.
Yeah, interesting.
The music's really nice.
Yeah, so all of that stuff. It's very important. It's very Nintendo. But I think that. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. I think I wanted to say the only thing that we haven't seen yet is the Mario Kart ride, and that probably has to do with the fact that it's all AR based, and I don't think that I don't know if they're testing that ride or if they were allowing people to do that ride, or they were way more strict in like filming and stuff. But considering the way that one works, I don't think we're gonna see how the ride looks.
Yeah, I totally agree, because as with Nintendo, they're going to create something like that we may not have seen before, and I think it's going to be very hard to and I think maybe deliberately it's going to be very hard to record what that experience is going to be like until you actually experience it for yourself.
Did you see the ads though?
I did.
Because they had ads rolling in Japan for this.
Yes, I saw one of them. Like I think it was one that was like released pretty quickly after the like little direct we got at the end of the year, and it got me really excited. Thinking about going. I was obviously it's very hard to travel right now, but it's like that's kind of the first place I wanted to go. That they did a very good job of convincing me.
Which is something that they're also worried about in Japan at large, is that apparently on a lot of people's list to visit when the pandemic is over or when restrictions have gone down and you can actually travel more freely is Japan. So Japan is at the same time ecstatic, but also kind of worried that there's going to be way too many people, and it would be at a time where maybe the pandemic was starting to settle down. If you suddenly have a whole bunch of people coming in, that it might ramp up again. So
absolutely.
Or just in general tourism, like way too many tourists in one place.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, one of the things that I was kind of excited about was how interactive is it the power bracelet? Is that what
Yeah, the
is that
power
what?
bracelet.
Yeah, like how interactive that is across the world, and like literally, like how there's little challenges throughout the world that you can like push your power bracelet up against, and like try and do little activities with it. Like that to me is just kind of mind blowing. And again, not great during a pandemic because you just literally want to go and touch everything. Literally going to go and push your wrist up against everything. But like just again, like you can see that Nintendo flavor just coming, like that interactiveness for coming through, and the fact that like it keeps a record of what you've done throughout the park on an app, so you can kind of collect your coins and take away whatever. I don't know. I need to look at the app a bit more carefully, but I think there's all points you can get and prizes and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of exciting.
Daily rankings, weekly rankings, and like all-time rankings and stuff like that. And apparently, Universal Studios does this sort of thing already. For example, like the Hogwarts area of Universal Studios, you can get like wands from Ollivanders that are actually interactive in the park. So, for example, you can use the wand to light up the lights in Hogwarts Castle. Like if you wave it, apparently. I'm not sure how that works. I just heard it. I haven't tried to look up videos for that on YouTube yet because I was way too much into like trying to get all the details for Super Nintendo World. But yeah, like
wow.
So it's so they have experience with that, and that's really cool to see. And the power bands are slap bracelets. So yeah,
yes,
that feels so
it.
90s. It's perfect for Nintendo.
Absolutely perfect. I actually have a funny story about the wands from Universal Studio. My mum and dad went to Japan a couple of years ago, and mum was like, "Oh, I brought you a wand from Universal Studios." And when she came home, she gave it to me, and she's like, "Apparently, all you need to do is pick it up and swoosh it around, and it'll light up and all sorts of stuff." I said, "Oh, wow, that's so cool!" So I take it out of the box, I pull the little tag out, swoosh it around. Nothing, not a thing. And I said, "What are you talking about? This is doing nothing." And then we read through the instructions. You actually have to be standing at the certain spots at Universal Studios for it to make any whooshing sounds or any lighting up. So thanks, Mum. Thanks for my useless ones.
Nice souvenir.
Yeah.
It'll be a good prop for when Hogwarts Legacy comes out, and you can use it for a post, probably.
It'd be great. I could get in my Hogwarts, gown and stand in front of the TV and swish all I like.
Oh my face. So yeah, it's being delayed. The Super Nintendo World opening. Not surprising. What is surprising was that they also showed us the first bits and pieces of Bowser's Fury, which is I guess what you would call the add-on game, which is something they've been doing a lot recently. They started with the remakes that they did for Mario and Luigi on the 3DS, where they added like an additional smaller game to the whole package to sweeten the deal for players who are revisiting the game. And they did this for Super Mario 3D World coming to Switch in like what, a month from now?
Literally a month. Yeah, it's scary.
And they announced Bowser's Fury when they did, but all we saw was this teaser trailery thing of Cat Mario sitting in front of a giant cat bell and nothing else, and just like rain and thunder. But apparently that's part of the game because Bowser is furious.
He really is. He really is. Like that's the coolest looking Bowser I think I've ever seen.
I think we can all agree that is the most metal, like literally the most metal, because the music that introduces Fury Bowser is actual. Like I don't think they've ever used. They've had like simulations of like metal-ish music for Bowser. Yeah. This is the first time I feel that if you said that this was written by a metal band, I would not bat an eye. I said like, yes,
Yes.
that
Oh, man.
absolutely.
I was so excited when I heard that music come on. I was like, "Whoa, this is like amazing!" Like, it's kind of suited the whole theme, like turning from this beautiful, gorgeous summer's day to like this crazy post-apocalyptic Bowser tirade. I don't know. It was nuts. It just went dark, and the music started, and there was fire raining down from the sky, and it was just like, "Whoa, what is going on here?"
Yeah, it looks really cool, and the game itself is actually impressive looking because I don't know if you noticed it, but it really feels like something you would see in Super Mario Odyssey,
Yeah,
and that it's this one big open world Mario level,
yeah.
if you want to even call it a level at that point, where Mario has to make it through and get cat shines because they're on an island or a archipelago of islands of cats. So everything is cats,
I
and it's
love
kind of
that. I have to say.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's an image of a piranha plant cat which has cat ears, but it's angled in such a way that the ear opening looks like a mouth.
Wow.
So you have this giant maw of a piranha plant with like this triangle mouth sitting on it. Ugh, sorry. Excuse me. I don't
Yeah.
know why they thought that angle was a good angle to show off that particular model, but
I'm now going to have to search the internet high and low for this image. Now you do realize.
oh, I can. I don't think I bookmarked it. I saw it on Twitter, but I'll be able to send it to you. Like,
Lovely.
it's just, I think it's actually scratch it. I think it's actually on Nintendo's official Twitter.
Oh
If
wow.
you look it up there, I think you should be able to find it.
I'll jump on and have a look.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
outside of that, sorry.
no,
Yeah,
that's right. I was going to say, like, I really liked how everything had the cat flavor, but then the kind of one thing that kind of piqued my interest a little bit was the realistic cats that were like hugging up to Mario, and they look like they had the color of the other characters in the game. So I don't know if they're linked somehow to the story of the whole thing. And when Bowser did go like all mega gigantic crazy, those cats turned like evil. Like I don't know whether you saw in the trailer, they were like they had all the purple stuff over it too. Like it's just really interesting, like what they're like what it's going to play like. And I think with the randomness of Bowser's fury, like it looks like a time kind of event and how it changes things. It might add a bit more replayability to that part of the game, because there was a bit of time there where I was like, is this going to be like a roguelike type thing, you know, where it's going to kind of change over time and you kind of power up. But I think it's going to be more like he's going to come loose every now and then, and you've got to find these cat shines to try and open that giant bell to take him on. And what are your thoughts on that power up from the final bell?
The first thought that I had in my mind was, oh, okay, giant cat Mario. Then I saw the hair, and I was Super Saiyan Cat Mario. Okay,
exactly.
That's different. I didn't know what to think. It's like, okay, it kind of looks like a lion, but your first thought is never, oh, he's a cat that's glowing and has like a mane now, so he's a lion. No, they're standing on end. He's a Super Saiyan. So, I don't know what the mechanic is with that. I don't know if it's a recurring battle that you have to do, or if that's that. I don't think that's the end goal. I think the end goal is to beat Bowser as always, but I don't think that encounter is gonna be the only encounter using the bell. I think you're gonna occasionally get the opportunity to use the bell. You'll fight Bowser a bit, and then he'll calm down, go away. And then you have to collect more shines to unlock it again. That's how I think it's gonna go. Educated guess, it could be completely different. I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect Bowser's Fury to be essentially part Super Mario 3D World, part Super Mario Odyssey expansion. Which, by the way, second. It's a co-op player game, so They didn't say that one was online, which Super Mario 3D World is. The multiplayer in that is online, which we kind of already knew, but now it's confirmed. But yeah, Bowser Jr. with Mario. It's not actually think about it. It's not the first time that they've teamed up because they recently did that in Origami King.
They did.
So it feels like they're building up some kind of weird theme, which is kind of funny because before that we had Super Mario 3D Land where I think Bowser Jr. was like was the actual antagonist in that one. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, he was for part of it, wasn't he? I think there was certain castles you fought Bowser Jr.
Yeah, and the same thing for New Super Mario Brothers 2. He was also like he was like a mid boss as well back then.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden, within the span of a year, they're teaming up twice.
That's so true. And funnily enough, Origami King, you had to restore all these colors twice, and now he's got a paintbrush, and so it's kind of really linked. I don't know. It's very interesting. I did like how he can like draw on the walls and a power up comes out. That looks pretty cool. And I think there'll be a lot of I reckon there'll be a lot of kids who will want to play as Bowser Jr. because I don't know about you, but growing up, I always wanted to play as the bad guy. Like, what would it be like to play as the bad guy? You know, so I think it's kind of cool that he obviously sees something's wrong with his dad in that painting at the start, and off they go. But yeah, the graphics look beautiful, and as you said, it's very very Odyssey-like in my head, a lot more open world and lots of little areas to explore. So yeah, hopefully it gives us a few hours of joy. Because if you haven't played Super Mario 3D World, you've really got to do yourself a favor and pick it up because unfortunately it was released on the Wii U, and it really is one of those hidden gems. I'm actually thinking about going back and playing 3D Land just because I'm really in the hype zone right now for it. So I might grab dust the 3DS off and play 3D Land. So yeah, grab 3D Land as well.
I'm still holding out hope that they'll port that one as well. I'm not sure how they're going to tackle that. I'm pretty sure that if they're going to do it, they're going to add another game to it like they did with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3D Land. I wouldn't call it underrated because it came out early in the 3DS's lifespan. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people got it because also they had like a lot of bundles that came with the game. So
that's fair.
I don't know. Maybe if they were going to do they should have done it for the 35th anniversary. But again, that all got sidelined,
didn't it? Yes. Thank you, pandemic.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Everything.
But at the same time, they also announced. Well, not maybe the same time. I think a day later.
Yeah, because they released a 7-minute trailer the day after, didn't they? And then they announced
a Mario Switch, which comes with a bunch of cool stuff, like a completely customized Switch with customized Joy-Cons with custom red and blue coloring, exactly like Mario's motif. It comes with a case. It comes with a Joy-Con grip that is also the same color scheme. What else is it coming with, actually? I feel like there's a whole bunch of things that it's coming out with that I'm looking over, but I think that's about it.
It's the first Switch that has like a different color around the edge of the screen as well, and on the back. Like it's interesting because even the special edition ones that have come out so far have still been black, but have had like etchings on the back. So this is like the first like really different colored Switch. I just wish they made the stand red as well. I don't know, just the one thing that annoyed me about it.
Wait, which stand?
The stand, you know the kickstand on the back. It's black.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. It just kind of throws you out of the illusion. It's like, oh, it's black.
Looking at it, it's like, oh wow, I didn't even notice the first time. That's weird.
Yeah, it is a bit weird.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. Of course. That was the first thing I was like, oh, black kickstand. No, thank you.
Oh, I think I know why. I think it has to
Why?
do with the fact that they sell, at least here on the Nintendo Online Store, they sell replacement kickstands
Makes
for
sense.
about €7,
Yeah.
and that one's black.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
considering the relative ease these things tend to
Mm-hmm.
fall off,
Yep.
you'd probably be ordering a replacement one. And considering that this is either a timed thing, which I highly doubt that it's timed, but it's going to be way less of an occurrence. They just thought, you know what, just the black one. So if they ever have to get it replaced, people are not going to be upset that they can only get a black one.
That totally makes sense. So that's very clever. And I didn't even think about that. I was just like, why is it not red? Listen to me complain about something. Always. No, but I don't know. I don't know about you, but does the Joy-Cons slip in that grip? Is it like the same as Mario's overalls? Is like this? Is that the way that the colors are? Like I was just.
It's like the reverse, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was trying to.
Because the overalls are blue and the shirt's red.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So
And you can see I did a lot of research on it. So could I don't know. Yeah, the red is the undershirt and the blue's the blue's the yeah. I like it. No, it was. Yeah. I hope. Yeah, I hope it does well. Because I think it's kind of a fun. It's a fun looking one. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've. Oh, right. There is one more thing that we have to talk about before we go into the next segment. So apparently, the PlayStation 4-ish has been discontinued in Japan, with the exception of the PlayStation 4 Slim. It's been discontinued. And we were talking about it before we came on the air that it's been really hard to get the PlayStation 4 Pro apparently elsewhere in the world, but Sony hasn't officially announced that they've stopped production of those systems for other regions. So, yeah, we don't know what's going on there, but it is striking to see that they've already discontinued those models. I mean, we know that Microsoft discontinued the One X and the all digital edition of the Xbox One, aka the Xbox SAT. Yeah, because that's what the acronym is. It's SAD. So I think the reason why it happened, and I agree with some of the online chatter about this, is that they're focusing on producing more PlayStation 5s, and it's a lot easier to discontinue something that is essentially being replaced anyways by a newer system and just keep the light model so that people that still want, or the slim model, for people that still want to buy a cheaper alternative, they can do that. Because most of the games that are coming out for the next 2 years, the people like the Sony and Microsoft are saying like year. I'm saying the next 2 years or so, we're going to see a lot of cross-generational games coming out still. And we're still even seeing, especially from Japan, because of course, a lot of games that are still only coming out for PlayStation 4. So it makes sense for the PlayStation 4 Slim to be around. It's kind of a shame, really, that that their hand was essentially forced to cancel the Pro. But again, because of the pricing, it's not very handy to have something that's basically the same price as your new system and is less powerful.
But then I wonder why they don't just discontinue the Slim and then say, hey, you want entry-level 4K, that is our PS4 Pro, we're putting it against the Xbox Series S, because I think they're almost the same from a power point of view. Like if you look at pure GPU compute, I think is like the same, is that the Series S is faster with the SSD and the processor. But like, if I would almost say like, okay, you know what? You drop the Pro to $299. You say, hey, if you want entry level 4K, we have a huge library of PS4 games that you can all play in an enhanced way, be it full HD or higher. If you want the true next gen experience, we still have got you covered. We have either the digital edition of the PS5 or the disc edition of the PS5. But that way you kind of take away the argument of Microsoft's offering an Xbox Series S, which, to be honest, I don't think it is selling that much, because if I look around, I can, at least when I looked around 2 weeks ago, I could just buy one, whereas with the Series X, it was a bit harder to get one. So then I would expect, like, from a business point of view, they're like, hey, you know what? We have this opportunity to win over customers as well, or pull them into the Sony ecosystem and say, like, hey, you know, you can play all these amazing games. You play God of War, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, and just for $299. And that's a lot of money, but it's cheaper than $499, and then filing games on top of that, for example. So I'm surprised they discontinued the Pro. I wouldn't expect them to do it.
True. Oh, by the way, if you're hearing that whirring sound, it's because my laptop decided to become a jet engine.
Always fun.
Love it. That sounds like the PS4 Slim.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
That's what my PlayStation 4 sounds like whenever I play anything that's like really intensive.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is a strange move. I didn't expect it. There's probably a good reason for them to do it. I mean, they're churning out as much PS5s as they can, but to be honest, I still think it's gonna be like months before people can just walk into a store and just grab one off shelves and say, I want to take this PS5 home with me today. I think Xbox is going to get there sooner, but that's simply because the demand for Xbox is unfortunately lower. So you'll be able to walk into a store and maybe in 2 months just grab a Series X. But I think for the PS5, it's literally going to be, I think, like in the beginning, people were just, I know with scalpers, when they were selling them off here in the Netherlands, for example, they were posting in their ads saying like, this is your only chance to get a PS5, because if you don't buy one now, you'll be able to get one next year in May. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of like a terror tactic. You're just trying to scare someone into buying your PS5. But I'm actually starting to think that will become a reality, because I think it is simply the issue of they cannot meet demand, which is like the most luxurious position to be in as a manufacturer. That there is just so much demand that you just simply can't meet it. It's just that people might get bored with it and eventually say like, oh, well, you know what? It's taking so long to get a PS5. I'll just buy an Xbox because those are available.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at a few sites right now, and they're not available anywhere. Like nothing. No Xboxes, no PlayStation 5s, like nothing. So
yeah, we're the same here in Australia. We actually had a retailer the other day get everyone excited because they're like, we've got PlayStation 5s in stock, and everyone went and got their pre-ordered their PlayStation 5, and shocking, I know, like 10 hours later, it's like, sorry guys, we're actually not getting any PlayStation 5s. Here's a refund, and they gave everyone like $100 store credit because one of my friends did it. So, but it's just like, I think you're right. It's just going to be like months until people are going to be able to get one. I don't think there's been a shipment here since like the original release window shipment, which, yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I think we've already had 2 shipments, and I think the third one is like, because I see a lot of retailers either informing people or other things, like saying that it's going to be either this week or what was supposed to be last week. So I think it's happening. The funny thing that I've noticed is that like never before are there giveaways where companies give away a PS5. I mean, like you see those ads on Instagram. I'm like, is there like an infinite supply of PS5s to give away? Because like every random strange company, like a car company, is like, buy a car and you might win a PS5. I'm like, what? Why?
Why doesn't it come with the PS5?
Yeah, it was like so strange. Yeah. Like, people don't know how to attract attention anymore to their brand, and like, you know what, a PS5 will probably do the thing. And I'm like, no, man, that's not the way to do
Doritos has that here.
Yeah,
So Doritos has that here, and Pringles has that for Xbox here.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right now here, it's almost like they don't exist. Like even on, like we have EB Games, and even on their website, like it's just like that they don't exist. Like you can see they have the PS4 button and the Xbox One button and the Switch button, but apart from that, like you'd have to search PlayStation 5 to find anything like the controller or anything. It's just like. It's like they don't want to, tell anybody about what's going on. It's very weird. It's a very weird situation here. I don't know.
It's like a dirty little secret.
It is. That's how I feel. It's like a dirty. It was like when the Wii U was around and they buried that too because nobody was buying Wii U's, so they just buried that somewhere deep in the side as well. So it's like, yeah, until we have PlayStation 5 to sell, we're not going to want you to buy anything. Pretty much. That's how it feels. Yeah, a bit weird.
I don't think people have to worry about that too much, considering there's probably going to be a lot of cross-gen games this year anyway. So
yeah,
and I think the only benefit is if you eventually do, it's like say you get like a PS5 in 6 months, then the benefit you will have is that there are a lot of games you can play on it. Because that's kind of what I'm struggling with right now. Is that there are a few games I want to play on it, but it's more like I can also play them on the PS4, So it's like you're in this limbo of, wow, I almost feel elite because I have a next-gen console people want, but at the same time, it's, I wouldn't say useless, but you can't kind of like use it to its fullest because there's nothing to play on it. And to go back and to play all those old PS4 games, you get bored of that eventually. You're like, yeah. No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's literally the biggest paperweight I've ever owned at the minute. It's like it's a shame. Love it.
Oh man.
Well, there is one more news article that I want to talk about, but I'm going to save that for what we've been playing because there's a lot to talk about in that one.
Oh, okay.
So, unless you guys have any other news articles that you want to talk about,
no, good.
All good.
Dan, you were saying?
No, all good here. Yep.
Awesome.
Nothing.
All right. Sean, you good?
All good. All good.
All right. So stick around, and we'll be right back with what we've been playing. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with this week's segment of what we've been playing. Sean Templar, what have you been playing?
I haven't been playing a lot. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I have kind of like this dip. I have them from time to time that I just don't feel like playing anything, even though I have a lot to play. I've been trying to get through Assassin's Creed Valhalla purely because I want to buy... I made this deal with myself that with the start of a new generation, I'm first going to finish a game on my PS5 before I buy a new game. Because otherwise I will have an even bigger backlog on that as well, which I kind of want to prevent. So far it's actually working because I bought Miles Morales and I finished it. I bought Watch Dogs Legion back on the PS4 and I finished it on the PS5. I was waiting. I was holding off on Valhalla because I was playing Yakuza Kiwami 2 on the PS4. And I'm happy that I did because otherwise I would have missed out on the sale and I would have paid like $30 more for Valhalla. So my commitment kind of saved me money. I'm in Valhalla. I think I'm in 31 and a half hours right now. I'm at 60% completion of the main story. I try to do the main story the most because I was talking to someone about this yesterday. That person was playing Assassin's Creed Unity. And it's crazy how when Assassin's Creed came out, it was it was always based around either one city or a couple of cities, and that was your playground. And then going into Origins, they kind of took away that city aspect, and they said, like, no, it's not a city anymore. It's a whole world you can go to. And they expanded on that in Odyssey. So, but the world is even bigger. And, I mean, I finished Odyssey, and there were even some places in the map I still hadn't gone to. So, imagine how immense that world is. And then here with Valhalla as well, they have like 3 worlds. You have Norway, where you start in, which is already pretty big. And then 6 hours later, you go to England, which is also super big. And then in between, you also have like an Asgard section, which you go to Asgard, which is also another world. It's not super big, but like it's still a whole different place you go to. And it's like overwhelming it sometimes, because you just don't know what to do. You climb your tower, you synchronize, and it shows you all these points of interest on the map. And you're like, I seriously don't know where to go because there's just so much stuff to do in this world. And because of that, I just follow the main quest because like that is my only guiding principle. Like, finish the main story. And sometimes when I'm around and I stumble upon side thingies, I do them. But I feel overwhelmed. And it's just, I never expected this to happen with an Assassin's Creed game. I see
Did you say Asgard?
Yeah. So there's Norse mythology in it. And like to shed a little bit, they're playing into the mythology and kind of like the witchcraft and the shamans and stuff like that. So, for example, there's a part where you drink a potion and you go into this dream, and there you suddenly see Odin, the Allfather, talking to you and kind of guiding you through things. And funnily enough, Odin appears a couple of times, but only to you in the game. So I finished a mission yesterday, for example, in which suddenly just Odin randomly pops up. The world kind of fades into this gray, darkish mode, and there's Odin just talking to you, kind of guiding you or giving you some 2 cents on what to do and handle certain situations. Really, really cool. A little bit strange. I keep getting these Thor Ragnarok vibes, and like you hear Loki, you hear Freya, you're like, oh, I know all these characters from the Marvel movies, but it's not the faces the voices you expect to hear from them. So yeah, basically that. It's a really cool game. I love the combat. I have struggled to get into it a little bit compared to Odyssey because Cassandra was a more likable character. She had more depth to it. I like that more. But eventually, after I got over the hurdle, because I was playing it on and off, I kind of got over this hurdle, and now I'm fully committed to finishing the game, and I hope that I can this week, so I can finally play Immortals: Phoenix Rising, because that game looks really cool. The funny thing about that game is that it reviewed worse than Assassin's Creed, but it is, from what I've heard and seen, the more popular game. A lot of people are saying like, hey, this game is so much fun. This game is really cool. It's the surprise of 2020. You should really check it out. That's really funny because nobody says that about Valhalla. The only thing I hear about Valhalla is, yeah, that quest bugged out on me, or this happened, or that happened. Because I've had that like 3 times that a quest bugged out, and now I'm so careful when I play a quest that if it takes a little bit too long for an objective to be marked as completed, I'm like, is the quest bugging out right now? And then like, if it does, you have to start the game all over, the mission all over again, of course. So, those are some little eeny-beeny gripes I have with the game. Besides that, also jumped into New Game Plus of Horizon Zero Dawn. I've been wanting to play that game for a while again, and the game is as beautiful as I remember. It's really fun playing with Aloy and rediscovering everything all over again. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, I have a fun thing I discovered is there's an app I use on my phone in which you can kind of keep track of the games you want to play or the games you play or are looking forward to. So what I did is I went through the backlog of my games on PS4 and I made a list of the games that I want to play from my backlog. I think it's like 24 games in there. So I've kind of made it a mission to myself to kind of get through that backlog at least this year. At least then I'll have a satisfied feeling like, yes, I actually made a dent in my backlog. So yeah, I mean, there's games on it like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or Firewatch, the Hitman games, Doom, just games I usually bought in a sale but never actually finished or even started playing. So Oh.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is. It's like I was talking to this with someone yesterday. Like it's like your backlog is currently lurking at you, and when you buy a new game, they're like, "But why won't you play with me? I have so much options. Why won't you play with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you're not fun. I mean, you don't allow me to be an assassin in England as a Viking." You're like, "Yeah, but we have so much more options. We have the Doom guy, we have a Jedi, and others. There's so much." I'm like, yeah, I just need to make an effort to finish those games because they're really good games in it. I just never find the time to play them.
It's definitely a challenge. Because I'm in a similar boat with the Switch backlog. Like I like to buy games that people are playing currently, so we can talk about it. But what happens is I start playing that game, and then the game I was playing gets pushed to the side, and it's just a constant pushback. So actually, this year I decided, kind of similar to you, I wrote out all the Switch games I haven't played, and then over the last few weeks I've just been playing like about 2 or 3. I've been calling it like a little demo time, and to see if it like connects with me, and then I've kind of come up with like a final list of games that I actually want to play and finish, and the rest are being put right to the back of the backlog, like just as part of the collection almost. So I now have a targeted set amount of games that I want to play.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good one actually, demo time, because I've got over the fact that I won't be able to play everything. But at least, like, because sometimes you just buy a game in like an impulse mood, you hear good stuff about it, and you're like, yeah, I want this, and then you think about it like it's actually not my kind of game. So, for example, I've been so hard in doubt if I should buy Demon Souls or not, because I am not a Souls kind of player, but Demon Souls looks amazing, and secondly, I just want to be able to say like, hey, it's like a bucket list thing. Like I finished a Souls game, and I wouldn't want to play all of them because they're like Bloodborne, for example. It's one of the best Souls games. It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't like the whole freaky, mutated insect. I don't like insects in general thing. They're like, ugh. So it is one of those lists of games where like everybody's talking about it and everybody says it's really cool, but I've also heard enough people say, like, I'm really frustrated. I'm going to throw my controller against the wall. I'm going to break something. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. I mean, a controller is 70 euros here. I mean, I cannot just randomly throw my controller at the wall because a game frustrates me. So it's holding me back. But I like the idea about demo time. That's really good because that way you can just like kind of get a taste of it. And if it's not, you at least made an effort.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because now there's no effort at all. They're just looking at me with puppy eyes, and every time like say like, you don't love us anymore, and like, yeah, I don't love you anymore. Yeah,
pretty much. And then you sit on the couch going, oh, I want to play a game, and then you sit there for 3 hours going, I don't know what to play.
yeah, and then it's just 3 hours of YouTube, and
3 hours,
wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you think back like, what did I just do? I wasted 3 hours of my life on YouTube.
Exactly.
Oh man. But yeah, that's basically what I've been playing. The floor is yours for one of the two who would like to go next.
Dan, would you like to, or should I?
Sure, I'll go next. Why not? I'll be like the meat in between the sandwich. Go back to the pros to finish it off. Yeah, it's been nice. I've had a few weeks off, so I've actually been able to play games, and it's kind of something, as you said, like time just goes, and you don't get time just to sit down and enjoy playing games, which has been really nice this holiday. And through doing all those little demos, scarily, I found out I'm a bit of an RPG guy, a story-driven guy, and which is the worst kind to be when you're time poor, because every RPG is like ridiculously long. So
yeah. And I know that dilemma all too well.
Same as me. It's too hard. It's like I think it's the stories that get me. Like I love being on an adventure, like this big epic story. It's just unfolding. So but so I kind of been getting into a game that like came out like years ago, back on PlayStation 3, but it got re-released on the Switch. I've been playing Ni no Kuni. Yeah. So, and it's one of those games that I bought on the PS3. I think I bought it again on the PS4, and why not? I bought it again on the Switch. So it's a good use of my money. But I this time I've actually, through doing these demos, I actually sat down and played the first few hours properly, and I actually got hooked. So I've been playing a bit of that, and I'm loving the art style and the battle system. Like it's a little bit different. Like it's still turn based, but it's you have these like little creatures. I don't know, I forget their names right now. Familiars, they're called, and they're kind of like your little Pokemons, and they help you fight in the fight. So you got to choose the right familiar for the fight, and so you send out these little creatures, and you're battling other little creatures as you do in an RPG. And I don't know, it just all feels really nice. Like you can attack. There's spells, but you're actually moving around in a 3D space. So like as the little creatures that come into attack, I can actually run away from them, which is really nice, instead of having just to stand there on the spot, taking it like you do in most RPGs. Like you don't get a chance to defend yourself too much, so but I like this one because I feel like I can defend myself a little bit and run away and actually, and it's just got that gorgeous anime art style, and the cutscenes are just beautiful, and there's this childlike imagination to it that I absolutely love. You travel between worlds, so you travel between the humans world and the imaginative, the made up world. They're like parallel worlds, and people affect each other on the different planes, and it's kind of a lot more in depth than I thought it was going to be. So kind of been a bit of a shock find over this break, that I've been really getting into that. So that's been a good one. I also really wanted to finish a couple of games as well, so actually get them off the list completely. So I played through Kingdom Hearts Memory of Melody, the rhythm-based one that was released on Switch recently. I am a big Kingdom Hearts fan, although I haven't played through the third one yet, which is really bad, so I do need to do that. But I love all the music, and actually the rhythm-based gameplay was actually really fun, because you actually get to use your weapons, and all the songs are from the games, and some are from Disney, and you unlock more songs as you go. And I know it was shortish. I'm not really 100% kind of guy. I do like to kind of get through the story, and I'm yep, that's kind of done. So probably was about 5.5 hours, but it was just a nice trip down Kingdom Hearts memory lane. So highly recommend that one too. And then the last one that I've been playing recently, and actually just finished yesterday, maybe, or the day before. It was earlier this week. Was Age of Calamity. So I finally got through the whole thing. So what are we going to say?
I want to say that we really should do a spoiler cast on that one, because I have so many thoughts on that game, and just on the whole Breath of the Wild storyline.
Same.
Because you've seen the ending, right?
Yes.
You've seen how the game ends.
Yes.
So if you've seen how this game ends, and you've played Breath of the Wild, there's just way too many questions. There's way too many questions.
Way too many questions. Let's put it this.
Start announcing stuff about the sequel, Nintendo. This was cool and all, but you're just making it worse for us to.
Pretty much. Literally, I googled. So without spoilers, I googled afterwards straight away. Are people happy with the ending of Age of Calamity? Because I was I was just interesting what people think about it. Because
what's the result?
I think like you said, we're a bit where's this going? What's kind of happening? But I think I got a few answers from searching that as well. So, which is interesting. And I won't spoil it, but I think I think I might be onto something, because I agree. It was the story was was good, and the gameplay was fun, and it was all really good. Obviously it's not a Zelda game. It's a huge hack and slash game with millions of monsters, and you're just pushing Y and X and whatever to get through all these different things. But I think the thing that I said to my friend was it was the first game I've ever played that made me feel like I actually had an urgency in a wall-like situation. So I was actually like, I really have to do this fast because Hyrule is falling. You know? So it was literally like that. Like, at one of the last quests, it's not too spoilerish, but there's a quest where the blood moon rises. So if you know Breath of the Wild, like the blood moon rises and all the enemies come up. And let's just say the blood moon rises and you kind of have this certain amount of time to kill all these enemies. And if you don't, then they just keep coming back. And that part drove me crazy because I had to do it a few times. So
it is a really good implementation of that specific mechanic because it does harken back to what the Blood Moon is and what it does in Breath of the Wild, where after a certain number of nights have passed, I think the count was 7. Like after 7 nights, like a week, the Blood Moon rises and the monsters respawn. Except for the bosses, of course.
Yes.
But that game has like 5 bosses, including Ganon. So
exactly.
Help me out here because I haven't. I've only played a little bit of Breath of the Wild. I think I tackled the one of the first. What are they called? Like the giant
shrines.
Yeah. So I did I did the elephant one, and then I was in the desert section, and I never played anymore after that. But like, it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild. So why, and maybe you can't answer this because you might go into spoilers, but how is it that everybody's kind of like, oh my God, because you would almost say like, because it's a prequel, you kind of know how it will turn out because the events of Breath of the Wild have already taken place. So you would only expect, at least what I usually expect from a prequel is that it gives me a lot more background or insight into certain characters or events, but I kind of know what the outcome will be because I've already played the present. I'm just going into the past to see how we got to the present. But maybe it's not applicable here. Like with Marvel movies, you when you watch Endgame, you kind of know like they're going back into the past, but you know where they've been or how you've been in the present. Heck, you've been into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I see you both smiling. So like, yeah, I mean, I understand if you can't answer this because of spoilers, but
okay, I don't know. I don't know if this is a good enough analogy. And if you think I'm wrong, Dan, just say that I'm so, because I thought about it, and I think this is the closest analogy that I have. Remember, let me ask this question for you. Have you ever watched the Back to the Future trilogy?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like.
So remember in Back to the Future, the first movie, Marty goes back in time, right? He kind of messes with the past, and then when he comes back to the present, his life is like way more better because his dad is not a loser anymore because he punched out the bully.
Yeah.
And now the bully is the underfoot guy, and he's the one who's like the famous author, and like the house is like way better, and the kids are suddenly way better. Marty's still the same, of course, but he's the protagonist. He was always good in that regard. I want to say it's kind of like that, but on a whole different level.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
and considering that this is a canon prequel, calling them announcing the sequel to Breath of the Wild as a sequel and not like Breath of the Wild 2 makes more sense.
Okay.
So that's the best I can do without like basically spoiling how the story goes.
Okay.
Because there are some really cool like plot twists that happen because when you start out, it makes sense. If you've played Breath of the Wild, when you start out, I want to say the first 3 or 4 chapters, because it's like 9 chapters?
Yeah, 7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah, 7 or 8. And up until that point, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Everything goes as you think it's supposed to.
Yeah, there's even one point getting closer to the end where I'm like, oh, maybe this is the way it is going to go. But then, yeah, right at the end does change it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think chapter 5 is the big turning point, and from there on, you just keep getting unexpected twists.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like really, I think we may have to reconvene and like do a spoiler cast on this because I really want to discuss. Like,
Yeah, me too. It's really hard not to. That's why I'm like, I'm letting you explain it because I know I would just blurt out exactly what happened. So that was a great analogy.
I do have one question. Without, I don't know if it's a spoiler thing or not. If it's a spoiler thing, just you don't have to answer it. But who was your before the game was over? Who was your favorite character?
Before the game,
like to play with?
Well, I'm a Link man through and through. So he was my go-to. But near the end, you're kind of forced to play with the different characters. And I don't know whether one would be a spoiler near the end.
Let me put it this way: is it a character that was made available after Chapter 5?
Yes.
Yeah, then it's essentially a spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
there's someone after chapter.
I'm so sorry.
This is so cryptic. Oh my god.
But there's someone after chapter 5 that I enjoyed playing with near the end. So but yeah, that's kind of going into spoiler territory. So, but it was definitely an interesting game. And if you haven't, I think if you're a Zelda fan and you haven't played it, then go and do it. It will leave you asking questions.
Yeah, the only other advice I would give is that if you're a Zelda fan and if you haven't played Breath of the Wild yet and you're thinking, oh, this is a prequel, I'm going to play this first, play Breath of the Wild first.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, it's great that Nintendo's saying that this is a canon, that it's a canon story and it's a prequel, but trust me, play Breath of the Wild first. Because if you play this first and then you play Breath of the Wild, it is not going to make sense at all. I mean, maybe by the time you get all the memories, it makes somewhat sense, but it's not going to make any sense as to why this is being called a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Which in and of itself is kind of a spoilery.
Yeah, exactly.
It.
Just put it this way: it's a very Nintendo prequel.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Has Nintendo done prequels before? I don't think so. Right?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Neither can I.
No.
But then again, Nintendo doesn't really focus on story. That's
true.
Oh, by the way, like you said, the story is really good. That's because they actually invested time in the story.
Right? Yes.
I think outside of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, maybe, and to a certain extent, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, the focus has always been on the adventure itself. And here, the focus is on the story because the gameplay, I mean, let's be honest, it's a little bit repetitive.
Yeah.
But it is a fun kind of repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Especially when you get past chapter
5. The magical chapter 5.
That infamous chapter 5. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, yeah. If you've stopped at chapter 5, you have not seen the game.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, honestly, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, spoiler cast, we have to do that.
Yeah, we have to do it.
Anything else you've been playing?
Well, that's been it pretty much. But I've dabbled with friends for the first time in Dead by Daylight, which is kind of a bit different for me as well. So that's been a bit of fun. So, but other than that, it's just been trying to get through. I really wanted to finish Age of Calamity. That was my goal. So I've ticked that off now, and ready to see what Zelda has in store for us this year. So yeah, pretty much it. Ready to, go on.
I was just wanting to say that hopefully after March 31st, we'll hear what they're going to do for Zelda's 35th anniversary.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be big.
Me too. All right.
Yeah, so I
Over
guess
to you.
then it falls. Yeah, it falls to me to. Oh boy. Like I said, I had some time off, so I actually had time to play games, and I know that I said that I'm playing Nier, but I kind of fell off again because I was doing a lot of. I fell into the same trap I did the first time around, which is doing a lot of side quests. So now now I have to recommit myself into just focusing on the story parts because I've only done the first playthrough and I'm now in the second playthrough. There's still a third playthrough to go through to get the full story. So I kind of need to get myself into a tunnel vision kind of mindset to finish that game and get the full story. And I've reached a point um, in Nier Automata where it's like, okay, I'm back at this point and I'm learning like so much more than I did the first time around because you're learning from different aspects from different characters because you're playing as a different character. You started off as playing as a 2B, who is a melee character who does not. That's all she does. She's fighting with swords. But now I'm playing in the second playthrough with 9S, who is a recon guy, so he has the ability to hack other machines, and that's a really interesting dynamic because melee wise he's weaker. So what you end up doing, or at least how I play more, is I'm hacking the machines to destroy them. Because if you hack a machine and you destroy their core, they instantly are destroyed unless they're a strong enemy or a boss. Then you have to hack them a few times, and the hacking mini game gets a little bit more complicated with those kind of characters. Like stronger characters have a slightly more complicated mini game to get through, and you only have a certain amount of time to complete the hacking mini games. Most like at the least end, you get about 10 seconds to complete the mini game, which is a top-down shooter, kind of like Asteroids. And with like bosses or like stronger enemies, they're bigger arenas, and you tend to get 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the enemy or if it is a boss. So that's where I'm going through now. Hopefully, where I'm at, I'm almost at the point of no return for the second playthrough. So that's where I'm working through. So as I said at the end of the news segment, there was one news article that I wanted to say for this one because I have spent a lot of time on it. And if you have been on my Instagram account, you know which one I'm talking about. And that is, of course, Monster Hunter Rise. And all right, so they had a presentation about a week ago now. And I almost got the prediction right because I said that if they're doing this presentation now, odds are they're releasing it shadow drop then after the presentation. They did 12 to 24 hours later.
Ish.
So I was off by ish because they were releasing it per a region. So Japan got it first. So I stayed up all night until like 2 a.m. to finally be able to download it from the Japanese eShop with my Japanese account because it wasn't appearing on the European. And it's good that I did because the next morning it was almost impossible to download it. Like the eShop was down because everybody wanted to download the demo and it was overtaxed. So I was like, yes, I get to play it. And not just from the presentation, but finally able to see it run on my Switch, it looks really pretty. I don't know if you've seen footage of it or if you've played it yourself, Dan, but it is such a pretty game. Like if I compare it to the port of Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate that they put out earlier in the Switch's life cycle, you can clearly see that the models are 3DS models and they just up-res the textures. And it's fine, but you can tell that it's a lower resolution game. Here, it looks really good. And I've seen footage of monsters that were introduced in Monster Hunter World that look almost identical, barring maybe some lower resolution textures. But for example, oh, good grief, this name, Agenoth is this T-Rex looking fella that has these cooling fins that he props up every now and then during fight when he's like about to spew fire, and it's all in there. I mean, he's not in the demo as far as I can tell, but they did show footage of him, and wow, like if you told me that this was Monster Hunter World, I would probably do a double take on it. I mean, granted, there you can tell with the geometry that it's like lower polygons, but the characters, the armor, the monsters themselves just look really good. And they added a whole bunch of new things. So if you've been following Monster Hunter Rise, you know already about the wire bug mechanic that they added that allows you to basically go airborne for a certain amount of times before it cools down and you can use it again. It changes the locomotion entirely. If you've played Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate on the 3DS or on the Switch, you'll know that game had things what they called arts, and you had different kind of arts. You had aerial art, you had strike art, and all these kind of different play styles essentially that you could implement next to, of course, the weapon that you choose. With the wire bugs, it's essentially kind of the aerial and speed art put together, because what it does is it allows you to zip around during fights a lot easier, so that you can, for example, come in to do an attack. Every weapon has unique silk bind arts, what they call. Is when you use the wire bug in combination with the weapon, and some of them are so cool. They're so awesome. For example, the dual blades one, you embed a kunai into the monster, as long as you don't miss, because you have to be like really close and you have to hit them. And you embed it, it gets attached to a wire bug, and then you can wail on them. Even if your attack misses, you're guaranteed to do blast damage of around 50 or so points of health points, which is already like a freebie, right? But if you are able to get in extra damage, you can get that up to like 130 points, and that's ridiculously crazy, because for the dual blades, if you've seen a Monster Hunter gameplay, the dual blades are like these small blades that you're holding, and you can do combos. But if you miss, then you're wasting time, you're wasting animation. And to add that in there is really cool, even though there's a cooldown timer and you can't use it the whole time. As long as your timing is right, you can easily take down a monster even with just the dual blades. And I tried all the weapons, but again, my favorite comes down to the switch axe, which allows you, which is an axe which switch into a sword, which is really cool. One of the silk bind arts that they have with that is a move that gets you out of the way, but also recharges your ability to use the sword mode, because the sword mode is on a meter, and once that meter is depleted, it switches back to the axe mode, and then you have to build it up again. But with that silk bind move, you zip over, it refills it. So if you've used it already, and then you use the silk bind to either move into the monster or move away from the monster, you're already ready to go back into the sword mode, which is really cool. And the other weapon that I really like, but I felt that it didn't get a lot of love over the years, is the hunting horn. And that's the only weapon that offers group buffs and by playing a tune, and they've changed that entirely. The way that the hunting horn used to work is you play as in you use your weapon, it plays a certain note, a different note is tied to a different button. So X is one note, A is one note, and ZR is a third. Oh wait, let me think about it. Yeah, so sorry. X is a note, A is a note, X plus A is a different note. So you have 3 notes. You have to play them in sequence, and then you have to use the performance button to play the note to get the effect. Now, you just play the notes in sequential order, and it automatically triggers the effect. So you don't have to perform it anymore outside of once you've strung them all together, all 3 different songs, you can do one single shot, and then it gives you an additional buff depending on the hunting horn that you have, which is really good because you can just buff constantly, you and your party members, or depending on the hunting horn, you can heal, which is also really cool, like small or large, again, depending on the weapon. And the silkbind arts is also really cool because it has a similar silkbind art where you embed a kunai using the hunting horn into the monster, and then you can play the notes from a distance, and that does damage, which is ridiculous. And did I mention that the aerial movement is I want to talk about this game so much, but it's coming out in March, so I just have to wait until then. But the demo alone has got me so excited. I'm like, just give me the game now. Just give me the game now. I'll like, here's my money. Like I was even like, it's not in my bed. It's not in my budget. And even now, I was like, maybe I should like do ramen for like a whole month, so I can have enough money to buy the collector's edition. And then I went to look it up, and it was like sold out at where I usually buy my games. There's another place that has them, but you have to pay in advance. And like, I kind of really want it, but at the same time, I feel like I think if I just pre-order it, because when you pre-order it, you get the skins, or maybe just get the digital deluxe edition, because it's essentially that. The only difference between the digital deluxe edition, I think, and the collector's edition is that the collector's edition also comes with an amiibo.
Yes, that's the one I pre-ordered. Gotta have the amiibo.
The only reason I was on the fence for that one is they finally showed actual images of the amiibo, and it doesn't look that great to me. So I was on the fence, but after playing it, I'm like, it's so tempting again. But no. Like just the base game alone is gonna bring me tons of fun, and I can't wait. I can't wait for that I can't wait for that game to hit March.
Yeah, I can really tell you're so passionate about the game. It's awesome.
Go for
it. Yeah, I can. Well, like after speaking to you about it, like I downloaded the demo too, and it is spot on. Like it was the first Monster Hunter that I actually got real joy out of, and my friend and I, who were both complete noobs at Monster Hunter, we just kept there's the second intermediate monster, and the bubble one.
Mitsune.
Yeah, Mitsune. We still haven't beaten it, but it was fun enough for us to want to go back and keep trying. So and we were getting better each time. So yeah, like I can see why you love the game so much, and yeah, I'm super pumped. Like it's the first time I think I've been so pumped for a Monster Hunter game. So yeah. So thank you for spreading the joy.
Yeah. Hey, if more people play Monster Hunter because of my ramblings, you know what? I'm really happy because that means more people to play with. And
True.
I mean, I've been into it since Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii, and I did a post on it like around the time when the presentation was going on. So I was like, I want that up. Because I think that ties in really well, and I showed off my collection. Even I was surprised at the fact that I consistently have bought all the Monster Hunter since Tri. The only one I couldn't show off was the PSP one, and that's mostly because I bought it digitally, and I still need to get a replacement for my PSP battery. Yeah. So that one is kind of locked on there. Although I could have actually showed it off on my Vita.
True.
Or you can just plug in the power to your PSP and it still works.
Yeah, I can't find my adapter for my PSP.
Oh, no.
Ah.
I know it's in a room somewhere, but I have to look for it. 'Cause,
Good luck finding.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a mess, and I'm sorting stuff out and like getting rid of old stuff that I don't need anymore. But it's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff to sort through. So,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
even the PSP was like I thought I left it at my parents' place, and then I found it was like, oh, it's here. Okay, that's actually kind of handy because I bought um and again, I unfortunately can't talk about this game as what I've been playing, but I bought Crisis Core a couple of months ago on for the PSP, and I haven't been able to play it because I don't have a battery.
I
I
actually
should buy it. It's not that expensive, but I keep forgetting it, and other games come into play, and um, yeah. So I also played, as we just talked about, Age of Calamity, but I'm not going to talk about it again. I'm going to talk about the game that I played afterwards, which is what I'm currently playing, is Astral Chain.
Mm.
And funny thing, I bought this game when it came out at launch. I started playing it. I played it like crazy. And then I think 2/3 in, I just kind of stopped. And I don't remember 100% why. Think, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was because another game came out that I was looking forward to even more. And then I dropped it for a year.
Was that Luigi's Mansion 3? Was that time of the year?
It could be.
Or that year?
Because
I reckon it was.
Astral Chain came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So it could be that it was Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, very
which
possible.
is also oh no, it's so bad. I think I should adopt Sean's mentality of finishing a game before I buy a new one.
because it's hard, but it's working so far. I mean, like check back in with me in 6 months because then I'll works. But I mean, it's I don't know. I hope I can keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, I didn't. but I'm back in it, and I will say this: getting back into it, picking up right where I left off, was a challenge because Astral Chain has a very particular play style, wherein the most of the damage that you do is not through you, but through your legion, which is your kind of like your familiar, where you summon it. You have multiple ones. You have different ones for different tasks, but they all help you in combat, and they're the ones that do the most damage. They're also the ones that do the finishers. But you yourself, you play as a cop because it's. I wanted to say it's a cyberpunk future, but it kind of actually is a cyberpunk future. It's not Blade Runner esque, but it has Blade Runner esque aesthetic tendencies to it. It's really shiny. There's a lot of blue and reds, and like aqua, like teal, blue, like kind of stuff in there. But yeah, it's this far future, and there's this not a virus, but there are these creatures from another dimension called chimeras who invaded Earth, and you're basically in the last remaining city of Earth, and you're on the police force of that. Your job is to make sure that they keep away, or when they attack you, hold them off. And yeah, it's the I wanted to say the aesthetics, which is also pretty cool. It looks really good for a Switch game, which, I mean, it's not running at 1080p, but you wouldn't, like, unless you were using something like, or you're used to like seeing resolutions and stuff like that, if you're like from Digital Foundry or whatever, you wouldn't notice it from the get-go. But it is a really pretty game with a lot of particle effects, by the way, especially when you cross dimensions. There's like a lot of particle effects things going on. I haven't noticed stuff like slowdown in the game, but there might be like some like frame drops here and there, but for the most part, it runs really smooth. Yeah, the gameplay is like really, yeah. It took me like an hour to get used to the controls again because I hadn't played in so long, and didn't realize that the control scheme was so different from any other action game that I've played. But when I got used to it again, it was just like riding a bike, and I remembered why I enjoyed the game and why I tended to play 5 hours in a row when it came out. It's like just not just because of the story, because the story is interesting, and I'm almost at the end. I think I'm at either the next to last or the last chapter, and things took a turn again that I didn't expect, and I'm like, oh, because I thought I was almost done, and it's like, oh no, there is more story here to be had, because I just got something else and like a new ability, and it's like, well, you don't get a new ability at the end, so there's still not a lot of game left. But that's my focus right now. I'm playing True Astral Chain, and it is set up to revisit levels, but I want to play through it first before I go back and like get all the other collectibles, because one of the collectibles in the game is cats. You get to find cats in the world whenever like in every chapter you there's one cat to find in the level, but you have to be like really specifically looking for them, otherwise you're gonna miss them because they're cats and they're small. And you have this hideout where you can go to and take care of the cats. You can't pet them, unfortunately, but you can feed them, and you can bring them stuff. So one of the stuff that I brought them early on was a can, and the cats just play with the can. They just bat it around and they walk around your legs, and they're so adorable. I'm like, I want to come.
Oh, it sounds perfect.
So that's basically what I've been playing. Well, outside of that, I also got back to Monster Hunter World because I was just that excited. But I'm just playing. I'm trying to also go through that story-wise, just focus on the story and not trying to gather material to make new equipment, because that is a really easy thing to get distracted by in Monster Hunter. Getting distracted by seeing people's cool armor and trying to get it yourself. So I'm working through that story as well. So I'm doing that, Nier Automata, and Astral Chain. I don't know what I'm going to play after Astral Chain. It's probably going to be Xenoblade Chronicles, because I still need to finish that game. And like you with Ni no Kuni, I too also bought every version of that game. So I have the Wii version, I have the 3DS version, and I have the Switch version now, which is the best version.
Yes.
And neither of them I ever finished. So this is the closest I've been to finishing Xenoblade Chronicles, and I have to finish it, I know, because I've played Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I love it. I had Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U, but I didn't get far because I was trying to get like the best mechs, and oh my god, that game is so ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
Like that is the biggest open world RPG game outside of playing an MMO like Final Fantasy XIV that I've ever played.
Yeah, wow.
So
nice.
Yeah. So that's basically what I've been playing.
That's a lot.
It is.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot. We've never had a segment run this long before.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I guess
it's what happens when you have a break, when you have time.
Yeah, we have some time. Let's go on a quick break, and we'll come back with the final segment. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with the final segment, one that has been gone for far too long. It's, of course, one of my personal favorites, the Hidden Gems. Hidden Gems!
I was waiting for you to do that. It's been so long.
It has been so long.
It's a treat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd still commission someone to turn that clip into an actual theme song. But I don't know. We don't use it enough, but to have it commissioned to turn into an actual theme song. But if we had it commissioned, I'd probably be way more tempting to have to do it more often. But yeah, so Hidden Gems. It's been a while, so I'll explain real quickly what this is about. With Hidden Gems, we talk about games that we feel that most people have overlooked or didn't give a chance, or maybe even never heard of, because a lot of games come out throughout the years, and some games that are actually surprisingly really good just get lost in the big triple A ness of the industry for some reason, and they don't get the talking about or even the awareness that people should give it. So who wants to go first on this one? Otherwise, anybody who wants to go first can go first.
Maybe you should go first, Max.
Yes, you go first.
All right. I'm not gonna keep long with this one because I've talked about one of the games in this collection a lot of times before because it's my all-time favorite game. And the one I want to bring up this time is Collection of Mana, which is a really good deal considering that you're getting 3 games for a nifty little price of, I think, 30 euros, so about $30. And it's 3 games of the Mana series, the first 3 games. Final Fantasy Adventure, which I know it says Final Fantasy, but that's because Final Fantasy Adventure is a spin-off of the Final Fantasy series, and the Mana franchise is a spin-off of the Final Fantasy series. In most, if not all the games, you'll always find some references to the Final Fantasy series here and there. Not like chocobos or anything, but references in terms of either spells or certain enemy types will look familiar to you if you've played a Final Fantasy game. So the collection is a consistent of those 3 games, as I just said. Final Fantasy Adventure, which was originally a Game Boy game, so it's black and white. Secret of Mana, my all-time favorite game, which is a Super Nintendo game that came out back in '93, which is a action RPG with multiplayer elements, as in you can play 3-player multiplayer simultaneously. Each of you control a different character in the party of 3. And then you have the sequel of sorts to that. They're all not essentially related to each other, kinda. But the third one, which up until like last year, did it come out last year? I think.
I have a quick question about multiplayer. Could you play multiplayer on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, you can.
Wow, it was like a multi-tap or something?
Yes, you use the multi-tap. The thing that most people use to play football games, I used it to play Secret of Mana with my cousin and his best friend.
I didn't even know that existed. I thought you could only play 2 players on the Super Nintendo, but I didn't even know there was a multi-tap. That's cool.
Yeah, it had a multi-tap. Mostly the multi-tap was used for sports games like football games, American football games, basically anything that has a team sport that allows you to play up to 4 players. That's what you use the multi-tap for. But then you have the rare occasion like Secret of Mana, which allowed you to play an action RPG with 2 of your friends.
Nice.
And the pseudo sequel or spiritual sequel or whatever you want to call it, which until last year, or at least until 2019, that didn't have a name other than being called Secret of Mana 2. And that's because in Japan, it has a different title. In Japan, the series is called Seiken Densetsu. So all the games are called Seiken Densetsu 1, 2, and 3. So 3 there was unofficially called by fans Secret of Mana 2 because people loved Secret of Mana so much. And it finally got an original official title from Square, and it's Trials of Mana. And Trials of Mana is a very unique game because it never came out in the West until the collection came out. And that one is only 2-player multiplayer. So even though you still use a party of 3, only 2 of you this time can play Trials of Mana. And after that, they brought out the remake, the 3D remake on consoles and PC. And that one got rid of the multiplayer entirely, which is kind of a shame. The game is really pretty, and voice acting stuff aside, I would totally recommend getting that one, but I haven't gotten it myself because I want to finish more games before I pick up Trials of Mana. But if you want to play Trials of Mana and you want to experience it as it was intended, to me, the multiplayer was an intended part of the game. So I would rather play it with the multiplayer, and if it means getting someone on the couch with me, which is impossible now because of the pandemic, thank you. Yeah, it's a good time. You get 3 games that are really lengthy. Like the original Secret of Mana is about, like, if you play it normally, you should average about 40 to 50 hours to get through the entire story. And the story is, well, it's a 1993 JRPG, so it has the predictable beats. But that was literally the first JRPG or RPG that I've ever played, and everything was new for me back then. And I still play it from time to time because it's just it's despite the bugs in the game, because it does have bugs, but that's a whole different episode altogether. Jeez, promising way too many episodes right now. Yeah, the gameplay itself is really fun. The action aspect has a little bit of the action time battle aspect of it, where you can attack multiple times, but the first time you do an attack, that's when you do the most damage. If you do any sequential attacks before your attack bar fills back up, you'll do less damage or miss more often. Final Fantasy Adventure, like I said, I haven't finished it. I've played more of it than I've ever played in my life, though, which is saying a lot because I used to play it on an emulator. It takes a while to get used to how that game plays, because you're weak as a kitten when the game starts, and it has the same mechanic that Secret of Mana has, except that the bar fills up over time. And the longer you let the bar fill, the stronger your attacks are when you execute them. If you are not patient and you don't build up your levels, if you don't level up as soon as possible, you'll be waiting on that bar way more times than you'd like, and the game just becomes a slog, and you won't be able to progress. So that one is a bit more of a challenge to play through. I do want to finish it. I'm assuming it's not that long of a game. I don't know how long it is. I'd have to look it up. But that's something I want to play and finish. I've never finished Trials of Mana before, so now is the time to finish it. And I started a campaign, and I think I'm about a quarter way through. But yeah, I mostly picked up the collection because of Secret of Mana. But all 3 games have something of worth in them to experience. Whether it is because you want to sample why the Mana series is so much fun, and at the same time why it's so poorly being handled by Square Enix at times. Just look at the Secret of Mana remake that came out about 5 years ago and you'll just be very sad. If anything, if you're interested in playing either of these games, either Final Fantasy Adventure or Secret of Mana or Trials of Mana, the collection is the best way to go, because you'll be able to experience the best version of hang on. You'll be able to experience the best version of Secret of Mana that way. The original version of Trials of Mana. If you're interested in playing Trials of Mana on the 3D version, go nuts. It's a good remake. It's probably the best remake they've done for the Mana series so far. But if you want something like that's more concise and more to the point, and 3 games in one, you can't go wrong with that. Pick it up. It's on Switch. I don't think it's on PC. I think it's a Switch exclusive, the collection. So if you have a Switch, pick it up. It's $30 and you get 3 games.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
All right. So who's next? Who's next with the hidden gem?
Would you like to go next, Dan?
Sure, I'll go next. I don't know how much I'm pushing hidden gem here, but I think Paper Mario's had a bit of a interesting history, especially since like it came out, the Thousand Year Doors came out on the GameCube. That was kind of the peak of the series, and every Paper Mario game since then has to be the 2,000 Year Doors, the 3,000 Year Doors. Every sequel has to be the next 1,000 Year Doors. And Nintendo's just decided to go in a different direction with it, and we all kind of got a little bit burned when a lovely little game called Paper Mario Sticker Star came out on 3DS, and we all kind of fell a little bit out of love with Paper Mario the series because it was just not kind of what people wanted or expected, and it was definitely not a highlight. I pushed myself to finish that game just because, but it definitely was a push. And then Color Splash came out, which was a slight improvement. But then last year, sort of just in one of those mini directs, they announced Paper Mario, the Origami King. And for me, it all changed. But only recently, I did hold back a little bit from you guys. I have been playing Paper Mario, the Origami King very recently, but I wanted to hold on to it for this segment because I think people still have that attitude with Paper Mario that stems back to Sticker Star. You read every forum, you read Reddit, you read wherever, and it's always, is it like Sticker Star? You know, it's literally like, come on guys, Sticker Star was like 10 years ago now. Like, come on, it's time to move on. But I started playing Paper Mario Origami King when it came out. I was actually playing it on stream, and then I again, like you with Astral Chain, Max, like I kind of played it to a point and then just stopped and then didn't pick it up again. And I eventually picked it up after Christmas. So like I did the whole Christmas thing, and I'm like, nope, the first game I'm going to finish now is Paper Mario the Origami King. And boy, am I glad I picked it up again, because it is a charming little game. And again, a little bit like Astral Chain, like every time you think, yep, I've just about got to this story plot, and then it'll be like, oh no, now it's going to do a little twist and you have to go and do something else before you take on the boss. And there was just always something new and different to try. The story was really engaging. Like I just wanted to keep finding out what happened next. It led to me like actually smashing out the rest of the game in like 2 days. I think I played like pretty much 2 10-hour sessions because I just really wanted to know what was going to happen in the game. And the aesthetics, the graphics, the characters, even the toads. Like I know there's been lots of complaints recently that there's no unique characters anymore, only toads, all these toads. So, but I was totally down for them all in this game because they all had each.
Your pun game is on point today.
It's on fire. Thank you. I brought my A game for you guys.
Oh, thanks.
I love it. But each toad had their own little personality, and like you actually kind of cared about them this time. You had to like search for lost toads in the world, and they kind of were like scrunched up into like objects like a baseball or a grasshopper or something, and you had to like take it out. There's little references to other games. There's this section where there's this toad like climbing up a wall, and he says he's run out of stamina, like in Breath of the Wild, and like just little things like that just like really click with you. I think the most frustrating thing about this game, and maybe the reason I put it down, was the battle system. All I can say is the battle system is a ring-based system this time, and every fight is like that. So you touch the little Goomba on the pathway, and you got to go into this full ring-based system where you got to spin them around, line them up. You can slide, you can spin, and sometimes I would like hit one hammer brother, and there'd be like 12 on the circle, and they're like, line it up. And I'm like, no, I cannot line it up. I cannot see how this works. I'm not great with puzzles. So I did end up, I think my toads by the end of it were very rich. They could easily afford to like buy an island or something, because in the battle system you can actually pay off the toads to help you solve the problem. So I used to just like give them like 700 coins per battle, like just to like solve it for me, so I could move on with the battle. So so even though the rings system was a little bit of a barrier, like there is a way through it, and it's kind of like when you do get it, it clicks and you're like, oh, this is actually really cool, because the boss fights kind of take it to the next level, and you have to like find a path to the boss. So you got to like line up the arrows so you actually get to the boss, and then you got to turn on all these switches so you can use your arms to punch it, and all these things, and like it becomes a little bit more strategic, and of course like classic Nintendo classic boss battles of you actually verse different kinds of stationery. So the bosses are like a pencil case and sticky tape and a stapler.
It's pretty creative.
Yeah, it was very creative. And so all the moves are like based on these offers. You know, like when you verse the stapler, he's like a dog, and literally like his move is the staples refill and he staples you together, so you can't move for like a whole turn. You know, so it's like it was really creative, and the way in which they like, again, spoiler territory, so I'll not say too much, but at the end how they linked it all together, and you're like, oh, that's why the stationery were the bosses, you know, and it kind of comes back around, and it was just a gorgeous game. Like even at the end, I was just like blown away by how beautiful the final credits were, and the final little bit of little animation and movie at the end. It was just incredible. Like I'm really glad I went back in. And if you're one of those people that are kind of like, oh, Sticker Star ruined everything for me, this might be a chance to jump back in and really enjoy a good Paper Mario story. And it does get back a little bit more to the roots. Like it's definitely more turn-based, and you upgrade your HP as you go along, and your confetti counter and all sorts of things. So it's there. I mean, it's not the 1,000-Year Door sequel everybody wanted, but I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. So so that's my hidden gem.
I've never heard of the game before, but I'm getting super excited just by hearing you talk about it. So
nice.
Oh, you've heard about it before. I've mentioned it at least once on the
podcast.
Like
you have, I think you have. I know there's. Oh no, I'm confusing it with something else. I'm confusing it with Mario Maker, I guess. I know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I know that there's Paper Mario, but like I didn't know there was a 3DS outing and other outings. I think they started out on the GameCube with the games. Something like that?
64.
Oh, the 64. Oh, okay. Even longer. Wow. Yeah. But it sounds like a really nice game.
Yeah, no, it is. When you get your Switch, highly recommend.
I think I will. Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
So it falls on me then to...
It does.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to come up with one. But I think, and I've talked about this game before, but I've seen a lot more people playing it recently. So I thought like, hey, that's maybe a nice way to bring it back up. My hidden gem would be a game called Death Stranding. And you would expect that game to be already known and that a lot of people play it. But I'm kind of surprised by how many people didn't actually play it. Because it was one of the bigger games that came out, or at least one of the bigger PlayStation exclusives that came out in 2019. But even for me, I didn't buy it initially, even though I'm a huge Hideo Kojima fan. I thought like, hey, this game is either going to be the next big thing, or it's going to get like a cult following, and like only the true Kojima fans will buy it. And I think it landed in the middle, and people are rediscovering this game. And I don't know, at the time when it came out, it got mixed reviews because it got praised for a lot of things, but a lot of people also called it a beautiful walking simulator. To an extent, it is true. It is basically a glorified FedEx, UPS experience. If you want to know how those guys would feel in a kind of like a post-apocalyptic world, that's the way to feel it. But the funny thing is it kind of also thinking of, because we're in a pandemic now and mostly isolated sometimes, or we can't have a lot of social interactions based on where you are in the world. It got me thinking, like, hey, but that's basically what happens in the game as well. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, who is basically a delivery guy, but he delivers packages to isolated areas because the world, or at least America, is not as connected. It's not this big country that we know it as today. There's been this event called the Death Stranding, which basically tore the whole United States apart, and everybody's living in isolated communities, or some are still part of the United States, but it's not the 50 states that we know. And it's basically your last mission, kind of like a dying wish of someone, for you to connect all these cities back together and to kind of form the United States again. And what I love about the game is that it's the story. It is so vague. It is so mysterious. And that is kind of the thing that sucks you into it, because you want to know where it goes to. You want to know, like, but why is the rain causing my stuff to degrade? Or why am I seeing these dark silhouette-like souls floating around? And why am I being sucked into this black tar? And am I going to die? Or why is my character doing things? It's just so mysterious. And I mean, like, Kojima is really good at coming up with stories and really good at coming up with weird stuff. And this is definitely one of those weird things he came up with. But playing this game, it just it fueled my curiosity, and I was constantly like, okay, I want to know where this goes next, and I want to go where this goes next. And just besides the game just looking absolutely gorgeous and just so diverse in environments, it also kind of carries over that Souls kind of multiplayer, in which it's called asynchronous multiplayer, I believe. So like, as a community, you are helping each other in the game. So I can deliver Dan's packages, or he can find my lost packages and deliver it for me, or we can build a highway together in each of our games, and we can benefit of that, so we can traverse areas even easier. It really felt like this whole community from all over the world coming together to make it easier for each other, which was really nice. And then the voice acting was really good. There were some famous people in there. There were even some cameos of people in there that you wouldn't expect, like Herman Hulst, who was the head of Sony's Worldwide Studios. There was Jeff Keighley was in there, who we know from the Game Awards. A lot of people that you would just do missions, and then they would just appear as a hologram, like, hey, I know you. Or you would see this tall neck from Horizon Zero Dawn just in a projection walking around in the environment. It is a really nice game. I think you can pick it up for pretty cheap these days. I know it was in the sale on the PlayStation Store like last month. And seeing all sorts of people playing it got me really excited and got me thinking, like, hey, I think I just want to jump back into this game again. I mean, it's something as simple as that you run into all sorts of different kind of enemies, but you also run into people that just steal other people's stuff. And you can't kill these people, because if you kill these people, then you have to burn their bodies within X amount of time, because otherwise they go, they call it go necro. So basically what happens is, because the body starts to decompose, and a little bit of spoiler territory, they become like a nuclear bomb, because there is something in the game that has happened that has changed the way death works in this game. And it's not basically you die and you get buried and it's over. No, literally, if you die, it is a nuclear bomb that can go off because of stuff that happens in the story, which is like completely strange to me. You're like, oh, okay. So you adapt your tactics, or you use non-lethal weapons, or you run away from them. Just like all sorts of stuff. You just come up with new ways to play, which really made it a unique experience for me. And that's kind of why I would most definitely, if you are into open world games, if you like to try something new, this is definitely a game I would recommend.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. How how you were saying about the online play? Yeah. How does it affect? Like, how can you know, like, if I'm building a highway that someone, say I want to build a highway too, like, how does that affect each other's games? Like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, so the cool part is you can build things. So you can, for example, there are points in the game where you have a highway. There are like resource points, and you can also contribute to each other's resources. So you'll see in your world, for example, a bridge I built, or I will see a ladder you left for me in an area because you've basically gone through that area, and maybe you found it really difficult to climb a mountain. So you can just use your ladder, and your ladder will appear in my game as well.
Oh, cool.
And I can't remember for sure, but I think you can build a highway. I think it's on certain spots that you can build it. There are predetermined spots where you have to build it.
Got it.
But when you put down the node, it requires a lot of resources. So we can all contribute resources to it, and then it just appears. And because of elements in the game, the highway needs to be maintained as well, or it will kind of degrade and fall apart. So it's all this kind of like this community coming together and helping each other. I've had instances in which I needed to climb a mountain. I thought like, okay, how do I need to do this? And then I just saw a ladder, and like somebody went through that area and thought like, I need to traverse this. Here's a ladder I left. Use the ladder, and people can also leave directions or leave messages in the world saying like, no, don't go here because you'll walk into enemies, or try this route. It's easier. So it's really cool to see people just helping each other out, finding new ways to play.
Yeah, nice. That sounds really great.
Yeah, it's a definitely recommend. You have to kind of like it. I mean, like a lot of people are set off by it because it's being kind of mocked as a walking simulator, and yeah, there is a lot of walking in the game, but because the game is just so beautiful, I mean, it's really nice to see those environments. It runs on the same tech that's powering Horizon Zero Dawn. But then obviously they've upgraded it. So it's like I was comparing it to AC Valhalla, that some places in the game look, when you're walking around, you see rocks on the floor, but it looks really bad because it's like this flat texture that has rocks in it, and it just like they're faking it. Whereas in Death Stranding, there's a lot of terrain with a lot of mountains and rocks, and they're just like all individual rocks. You're like, whoa, this looks really, really nice.
No, and I heard the soundtrack is pretty rocking as well. Like there's some actually good music in there.
Yeah. That's the cool part about the game, that in some moments it's completely silent, so you just hear the environment. But then when you cross a certain section, the soundtrack will just suddenly naturally kind of flow into the game. And there's some really good songs in there. I think I've added it on my playlist because sometimes I just want to zone out and I just listen to it. It's really nice.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah. I think with that, we've come to a really nice, special, and long episode of Game Rivals. I will try to take us out. First and foremost, I want to thank you, and I think I speak for the both of us. Thank you all so much for joining this episode, Dan. It was really nice to have you on. We had a lot of fun conversations. It's also nice that, as I said earlier, like you gave us some insights that I personally, for example, hadn't thought of before. For example, the cyberpunk one. I'm like, hey, that's something I didn't even look at. So it's always cool to see when people just have their own take on stuff and kind of like show you a different perspective. So thank you. Where could people find you? Because people definitely need to find you. I mean, you're such an awesome guy. People need to know more about you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on. I had a great time. Lots of laughs. My jaw's actually hurting from all the laughing. So at least one part of me got a good workout today. So basically, all my social media, that's the thing. Social media is super underscore Nintendo. So basically, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. So I'm actually just going to start something new on Twitch. I'm going to try doing some little speed runs of some more like unknown games. So if you're kind of interested in that, definitely come and give me a follow on Twitch. I'm going to start off with Cooking Mama Cookstar, so on the Switch. So that's pretty much it. Super Nintendo. So yeah, and thank you once again for inviting me on, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been great.
It's been nice. I mean, like I've seen you these things on Instagram or on your streams. I haven't been able to tune into one yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And the idea around speedruns is actually pretty nice. So I'm really curious to see that one.
Thank you.
Cool. As for the audience, as always, thank you all for listening. We really appreciate your support, and it's really cool to see our little Game Rivals community grow. It's nice to see people reaching out to us and telling us they like episodes or give feedback. I was someone the other day mentioned like, hey, I have to drive a long distance for work. So it's really nice to just, turn something on. And I'm always looking for new podcasts. So it's really nice to just listen to those episodes while I'm just driving on my way to work or from home. It's like, wow, nice. That's actually pretty cool. I think you mentioned the other day that you were cooking and you just turned on a podcast. I mean, like,
literally.
It's one of those moments you just need to zone out, or you just make something nice. You just turn on a podcast, which is really cool.
It's really good.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for listening. You can find us on different platforms. We use Anchor. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast. I saw an email popping up from Anchor the other day saying that we're also on a new platform. I just forgot the name, so it's also cool to see that constant new ways are being added. We have a Game Rivals Twitter, which is game_rivals_. You can find Maximilian on Twitter, which is @Maximilian. We, of course, have the Game Rivals Instagram account, where I'm mostly at. That's @Game Rivals. We have the awesome Nintendo Instagram account from Maximilian, which is @Maximilian _X. Yeah, super cool Nintendo stuff there. Check it out. He has some Secret of Mana goodies there. I saw some popping up, which is really nice to see. You can leave us a voice message through Anchor. You don't have to make an account for that. You can just click on the link in the description. You can also reach out to us through email, gamerivalsfeedback@gmail.com. I think that's basically it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. As always, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining, Dan.
Thank you.
On that note, I have and always will be Sean Templar.
I have and always will be Maximilian X.
And I don't know if Dan would want to join in.
I am and always will be Super Nintendo.
Nice. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.
Later.
Bye.